5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Abby Martin, ladies and gentlemen. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good day to be here. A lot of crazy shit's going down.
Exactly.
It's a crazy day for Bill Cosby. Whoopsies.
Hey, I'm reeling in that news, man.
Yeah, I was wondering what was going to happen because the first one was a mistrial. Is that what happened?
Yeah, but what's the difference between this one? Is this a civil suit or is this?
I think these aren't civil.
This was the retrial, so he got convicted of
Nice.
felony.
Three charges,
assault.
right?
Felony sexual assault, 3 different counts. Each one carries, I think, at least 10 years. He could go to jail for 30 years, which is death for him. I mean, he's
already blind.
Yeah, he's very. Yeah, he can barely see, right?
Good. I'm so happy that he's getting charged at the end of his life. That's amazing.
He's a creepy dude.
He liked to have sex with lifeless, dead bodies.
Yeah, we were trying to, I mean, purely speculation, right? Like what would cause someone to want to do that? Like what? But I have this theory. I think a lot of people did that shit in the 60s. I think in the 60s it was a normal thing to drug people. And I think they, remember the terms, I don't know, you've heard it, slipping someone a Mickey. Yeah. I think they used to do that all the time back then, and they didn't think anything of it.
That's disgusting.
People are fucking gross. If you just go back a couple of 100 years, like I'm watching this show Vikings. It's a great show, by the way. I don't know if you ever watched it.
No.
But, they were obviously fucking crazy people. They did wild shit. But it was common. I mean, this was how people lived. They would storm into villages and kill everybody. This was normal shit just 1,000 years ago or so. And I think if you go back just 100 years, the way people treated each other was horrific. If you go back 50 years ago, that's Bill Cosby's era. I mean, I really think that people back then were different. They didn't have the internet. They didn't understand how other people were viewing their activity. They thought they could hide this activity. And I think there was a group of people, specifically, partiers, that would drug people. And I think it was a normal thing. I think there's probably a lot of people out there that are hearing this Bill Cosby thing, and they're thinking about all the times that they did it.
That is horrifying.
It's fucking scary.
And especially when you couch yourself into being this responsible, I'm going to lecture all the black people. Pull up your pants.
Yeah.
Be good.
Yeah. I remember one time Wanda Sykes interviewed him at something, and he was chastising her on the way she was talking.
Wow.
Her English. And he was wearing sunglasses inside.
He's like, sorry, I'm just recovering off the raping that I just did.
I can't see people. I can't look you in the eyes. I'm all raped out.
Oh, my God. I'm so happy to hear this. And did you see Weinstein chased out of that bar, in Florida or whatever? Some guy comes up and, slaps him.
Oh, slapped him in the face?
That was great.
Yeah.
Hopefully that happens to him all over the world. I think that he's a disgusting pig who should be chased out of every public forum.
Yeah, there's a lot of those out there. There's a lot of creepy humans in this world, I think we're in this unprecedented time of understanding in terms of the consequences of your behavior, what you can and can't do now, and then the fact that people will just, if you're doing something horrific to people, other people are now going to know.
Right.
Whereas, again, 50 years ago, nobody fucking knew anything. Think about JFK, right? Think about all the shit that's going on with Trump, and Trump just kind of it's like water off a duck's back with Trump for whatever reason. So he's got some strange ability to just fake news.
That's his brand. His brand is being a misogynist piece of shit.
Yeah,
so
it's
people
it's also he just says it's lies.
Yeah.
And he just keeps going, and everybody knows it's not a lie. And they're like, what are you going to do? Well, he's not freaking out. He's acting like business as usual, and somehow or another that's okay. But if you go back to what JFK was up to, JFK was a fucking freak. And everybody knows it. It's common, but he was a freak in the era where the press knew everything that was going on, and everybody kind of kept their mouth shut, and there was an unspoken agreement that they wouldn't report on affairs and all the other stuff, and it's fascinating to see our culture change wildly over a short period of time.
Yeah, the tabloid journalism has taken completely over. I mean, in a
That's
sense,
true.
it's good, but to see what these people are really doing. But yeah, you're totally right. JFK was a complete womanizer. And he's lauded as this hero still.
I think everybody was back then.
Yeah.
I think that's what they did. I think that's why they wanted to be president in the first place, so they could just fuck everything that moves. It's crazy. while trying to save the free world. It's weird. It's fucking weird. We're in a strange time. I think historians in the future, when they go back to the period where the internet was created, essentially it was like 94 when it became mainstream. I think they're going to look at this time between 94 and 2018 as unprecedented explosion of change.
Trump is nuts. I don't understand why, the Stormy Daniels thing, I feel like could be his undoing. I don't think anything is going to come out of the Russia stuff. I think that if anything, it's going to come out of the Michael Cohen.
Yeah, it could be.
But him pardoning Libya is basically him sending a message saying, don't worry, man, I got your back. I'm going to pardon you if you go to jail, to Cohen, I think. Because, why else would you just pardon Dick Cheney's former man?
Yeah, Scooter Libby?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Yeah.
It was just him basically just being like, don't worry, bro, got your back. I'll get you out of prison.
Yeah, Bush didn't even pardon that guy, right?
He just
Obama
commuted
didn't
his
pardon him?
sentence, yeah. It's insane. The Trump stuff's nuts. The Stormy Daniels thing is ridiculous. Did you see that interview with Anderson Cooper?
No, I didn't watch that.
It was nuts. I mean, it's just, the craziest part about it is not the fact that he had sex with a porn star and that she was trying to do a transactional thing to get on The Apprentice. It's that he sent someone to threaten her and her child after that.
Yeah.
He's fucking nuts.
Yeah, I think
what is he capable of,
I think that's standard operational procedure for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm. He's a mafia acting dude.
Well, wasn't that what who was saying that about? Oh, Comey. Comey was saying that. It was essentially, it reminded him of when he was prosecuting the mob, that they have this sort of, same kind of attitude. This us versus them, keep everything together, loyalty is everything.
Totally.
Yeah.
By the way, great job at stand-up. I've been going to a bunch of stand-up shows. Everyone just talks about jerking off to pixelated porn in the 80s and their dicks. And I mean, your set was awesome.
Thank you.
I really encourage everyone to check it out. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really fucking
good. I filmed
good.
a Netflix special last weekend.
How was it?
It was great. I'm very excited. Very happy. Can't wait.
What is it called?
I haven't decided yet. The tour I was calling Strange Times because, obviously we're in strange times. I might just keep that. I don't know. I might change the name. I don't know. I really haven't decided
I was
yet.
impressed. There was a lot of really good jokes about Trump, which is, you would think would be easy, but I guess for comedians it's probably not easy because it's so satirical, the world that we're living in.
Well, yeah, the problem is reality is already a joke. It's it's so crazy that you have to figure out what is your unique perspective.
Yeah.
If you have one. I just think we're very childlike in what we do with and, how we treat our leaders and how we choose our leaders. And I'm really fascinated by the cult of personality that goes behind really any big-time leader, whether it's Trump or Obama. There's people that think that person can do no wrong. I was very fascinated by that with Hillary. There was a giant group of people that refused to look at any of the things that Hillary was doing that were wrong, any of the things like the Clinton Foundation or those speeches that she was giving to these bankers where she wouldn't release the transcripts, or the lies that she would talk about, the difference between Comey's version of what the FBI had found her to have done wrong versus her version of it. And there's a video where you see the two of them back to back, and she's a deceptive person. She's clearly a liar. She's not a good person. She's not like this shining example of what we would like our leader to be. We'd like our love or hate Obama. What that guy was, to me, was like a statesman. Like the way he would communicate was so calm and smooth, and he was, even if you didn't like his policy, you got to admit the guy was incredibly articulate, beautifully literate. Like the way he would speak and communicate, he was well read. Like he, to me, represented what I would like the version of the person who's running the big thing to be.
And I think that's the whole crux of people who have brainwashed themselves into thinking there's some sort of like deep state apparatus that's outing Trump. I think that the real problem, look, the deep state is the military-industrial complex. They're winning at the end of the day no matter what. Defense contractors' stocks are skyrocketing. Trump is basically the de facto arms salesman-in-chief on the phone to the Japanese prime minister being like, hawk these killer drones, bro. Like, we got to sell these surveillance drones. That's who's going to win at the end of the day. The neoliberal establishment is who hates him because he removes the mask of empire.
Right.
That's what he does. He removes the mask. He's making it less palatable to sell imperialism around the world. And I think that's the crux of why you see kind of these think tankers and the liberals on TV. And we can get into this later, but there's a whole misnomer going on about the left and a mischaracterization about the left. The left has no fucking power in this country. The left has no voice in terms of news coverage. So
What
all
about
these people.
Rachel Maddow?
She is not left. She is a neoliberal corporate shill.
You say that, and so does Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore says the same thing. Yeah, he just thinks that she does not represent the left. And
Not at all. There's a myth of the fact that the media is liberal in general. I think that, TV culture aside, news is not, there is no liberal media. Media is owned by multinational corporations with conservative business owners that have interlocking boards of directorates at defense contractors, Monsanto, et cetera. Those people aren't fucking liberal. They're not left. They push down their policies. It doesn't matter if you're a Maoist working at Washington Times. You're not going to be able to put out that contradictory narrative that your shareholders are pushing. It's really unfortunate that the left has been basically, I don't know. I mean, they've just demonized the entire left, where now you have the NRA fomenting civil war against the fucking left. Trump and all of his followers are just like, the left is what's really wrong with this country. There's no power. We don't have any power. You've given me, I have more of a platform than probably any other leftist because you have given me a platform on the show. When have you ever heard my views, on TV, ever? You know what I mean?
Well, when you were on TV, I heard them.
Which is why we go to RT. It's nuts, man.
Yeah, but that's a weird thing too, right? Because people think of Russia.
Right.
Russia's the great enemy, and you were on Russia Today.
Yeah.
Abby Martin's, she's a tool of the Russians. The Russians. That the Russians were nothing forever. The Russians, we got through the Cold War, the Russians are our friends now. Whew! Because when I was in high school, we were always worried we're going to get bombed by the Russians.
Right.
That shit went away.
Yeah, how does it feel to just have that back?
Feels weird. I don't believe it. I don't believe we're going to get bombed by the Russians. I don't think we're going to bomb them. I don't think they're going to bomb us. And I think, as cliche as it sounds, mutually assured destruction is probably a really good incentive to not launch missiles into the air. I think that's still real.
What do you think about the Syria stuff?
Scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Anything to do with ISIS, anything to do with ideological warfare, all that stuff scares the shit out of me. When you see what people are capable of doing, if they really believe in their cause and they really believe God's on their side, they really believe, and also if you really believe you've been fucked over by the great Satan. All that stuff scares the shit out of me because most people are blissfully unaware of what the United States and what the commander-in-chief or whoever the fuck is pulling the strings is doing overseas and what the repercussions of those actions are going to be. Yeah,
the guy who I don't know when the Quebec mosque shooting was, but his justification was, Islamic terrorism made me do this. So if that's the case, what are all the people that we kill with drones? And we just killed the bride at a fucking wedding party in Yemen.
Is it another one of those?
Yes. Just
How many
2 days
times
ago.
we bomb wedding parties?
At least 8, I think.
That's our thing.
Yeah, and it's deliberate because we're supplying intelligence and weapons to Saudi Arabia. It's not just, we supply them weapons and turn a blind eye. We are supplying military intelligence and targets for them to bomb. And we are actively helping them do that. So, yeah, they just bombed another wedding party on top of the funerals, hospitals, schools.
But why wedding parties? Was there someone in the wedding party they were trying to get, or was it a mistake?
I don't even know what the official line is, but how many wedding parties can you bomb before we draw our red line? I mean, it's just disgusting. And they killed the bride. They killed the fucking... So what are all these people who grow up... This was supposed to be the happiest day of their lives. And now, are they going to grow up wanting to kill Americans? I mean,
well, if you were a
blaming the American government?
Yeah, if you were a conspiracy theorist, that's what you would say. You would say the reason why they're doing this is that the United States wants an endless war. The best way to ensure an endless war is to occasionally blow up some people that really have no dog in the fight, and you create a bunch of radicals. You create people that are hell-bent on revenge because of that. That's the real hardcore conspiracy theory, the Alex Jones take on it.
I think that a good way to look at the world is, there's the colonizers and colonized. The states that are basically remaining that we know that the establishment or the empire wants to take down, Iran, Syria, Venezuela, North Korea, right? What do they all have in common? They're all independent of our economic hegemony. And so we use our economic and military might to commit violence around the world to subject these countries to bend to our will economically. And it's really obvious. And unfortunately, people just continue to buy into this humanitarian bullshit propaganda, no matter who's in office.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who's in office. If you look at the actions that the Obama administration took versus the action the Bush administration took, they're super similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this whole deep state thing. I mean, look, is Giuliani
What do you think
a
about
deep?
all that? What is the deep state?
Okay, so the deep state, I think, is the military-industrial complex. It's the machine that churns on no matter who is the commander in chief. It doesn't matter, right? It's
They're not trying to get rid of Trump.
absolutely
If that's the
not.
case.
They love him, dude.
Right.
They love this. So look, Trump has a lot of enemies because he's scorched earth. Like he pissed a lot of people off. So of course you have tons of people who hate him. It appears that the media is uniformly against him, but I think it's because Kanye loves him. Should we pull up that Kanye clip? Look up Vic Berger, Kanye on Ellen. This shit's nuts.
Vic Berger on Twitter? Yeah, Vic Berger's an animal.
Dude, have you seen the Ellen one where Kanye is on?
No, is this recent?
No, it's just amazing.
Oh, just something he put together?
Yeah,
let me hear this. Hold on a second. Wait, look at Ellen. Just look at his face. When was this from?
I don't know.
Want more children?
Maybe.
We're looking at Kanye
Does Kim want more children?
make crazy faces.
No, it gets
But,
really
but
good.
you want more? Does Kim want
Gay
more?
is in the building. Throw your money hands in the air right now. Put your hands in the air right now. Yeah, put your hands in the air right. Throw your money hands in the air.
Now, is this
right now.
out of context?
Yeah,
or is that the real question? That can't
No,
be the real question.
Wait, it gets really good though. Hold on.
Okay, I'm with you.
Gay is in the building. Throw your money hands in the air right now.
What is he saying is in the building?
Kanye's
Ye?
in the building.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
Kanye's
Ye's in the building.
Ye's in the building.
Oh, read this part.
What's dead?
Picasso.
Steve Jobs is dead. Walt Disney is dead. I'm dead.
What? Look at Ellen.
It ain't no joke, as Rakim said.
Did you see that he wrote that he was going to be the next president? He tweeted to Harvey
good
Levin
God.
from TMZ. They called him erratic. He's like, please don't call me erratic. You're speaking to your next president.
Oh my God. Did you see Kim say like, look, you guys, Kanye's just living in the future in a couple of years. Someone else is going to say what he does and you're going to praise him.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, really?
She's just trying to keep him home. Just like, she's got to say whatever she can. Keep him from vanishing.
It's so bizarre though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I knew what was really going on. Like, Jamie thinks it's a big part of it, a big publicity stunt because he's got an album coming out. Look at him nodding.
1,000,000%.
Well, there's a huge
Interesting.
vacuum to be
It's
filled.
a big number.
All you have to do is be, a token person, and like the Joey Villa woman who was like, "All right, I'm going to wear a Trump dress to the Grammys, and then I'm just going to, sell tons of records," because there is a huge vacuum to be filled of Trump supporters who are looking for people like this.
There's definitely that. It's fascinating to me. It's really interesting because he's changed what's possible. And this is one thing that Trump has absolutely done. Like when he won, like that changes who can be president. It really does because it's now like, okay, we know that we've already decided we're willing to elect someone that we know really probably shouldn't be doing it. So now what? Like we're just electing a famous person. So who's the next famous person?
That's why people are like, well, what about Oprah?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Well, how about fucking NBC tweeted, our president, like a speech by our
so
president.
someone gives a good fucking speech and then we should vote them into office?
Who the fuck is in control of the NBC Twitter page? Like
That's
they
insane.
wrote something about a speech from our all caps president. Like what? Wait a minute.
I thought The Rock was going to run for a while, and then
can
I was
win.
like, yeah, well, and then
I'll
I
vote
saw
for
that
him.
he had a big dinner with the Saudi king, and he was like, oh man, like next time I'm bringing the tequila to your house, and everyone was like, Saudi Arabia's a dry country, dude. Like, and he was like, oh shit, and then he deleted the tweet. It's like, obviously you just drank a giant bottle of tequila with the king.
And the king's not
Saudi
supposed to
Arabia.
drink?
Yeah.
Oh. That's a
And
mistake.
who else was there? Oh, Morgan Freeman, the voice of God in Hillary Clinton's soul, was with The Rock and the king of Saudi Arabia. Somehow this is cool. But Bashar al-Assad is a monster, yet the king of Saudi Arabia is a cool dude who we should have dinner with. That makes sense.
Is this the young king that's trying to
Yeah,
modernize
the
Saudi Arabia?
revolutionary.
Yeah, what is his deal? He's like he locked up all those people for
Who the hell knows? Probably
being
to
corrupt.
consolidate power. I mean, that was the line that came out, was like, oh, he's revolutionary, he's a reformist, but I mean, I think that it was just to consolidate power as a power grab, and you
Someone's
just see
cynical.
these. Hey, come on, it's fucking Saudi Arabia, dude.
Listen, women can even drive there now, so why don't you relax? Can't they drive? Can they? They can, right? But not at night or something like that.
Right. They still have to have their
Yeah, they
male
can't look at
guardian
men.
escort
Yeah.
them around. So, dude, last time we were on, wow, crazy stuff happened after that, right?
Yeah,
Huge
I
ass smear
got
campaign.
a gigantic pile of email. Thankfully, to the wrong email address, but I still was aware of them.
Right.
Of a bunch of people, and it was like a form letter, talking about how you're a liar and you're anti-Israel, and none of this stuff is happening between, Israel and it got weird. It got
Yeah.
weird. It was
So-
like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails. I don't even know how many were coming in.
That's a campaign. That's
Yeah.
a campaign with large amount of money behind it, because the Israeli lobby likes to come down very hard on people who speak out against the crimes of Israel. As you see, this is a third rail issue. No one talks about it, even though it's so fucking obvious. I mean, we hear the mantra, Putin kills journalists all the time. Well, Israeli forces are sniping dead journalists and children on camera, and yet the world turns a blind eye.
Well, someone got killed just a few days ago, right?
A journalist just died
Yeah.
yesterday. He was
Was it
shot in the
Palestinian?
abdomen. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
all Palestinian. There's been no Israeli casualties, wounded or otherwise. But yes, Stand With Us is directly funded by the Israeli government. It's part of their giant Hasbro operation, and they made a video. They were promoting a video trying to debunk what I said on here. Look, you can look at the Empire Files and see all of the documentation of what I said.
And that's your stuff.
That's
the
all my
Empire-
stuff. Yeah, the Empire Files.
Where's that?
The EmpireFiles.tv. And it's a YouTube channel that you can subscribe to too. But I mean, it's just very easily verifiable facts. Like that Israeli military law governs the West Bank. This is verifiable in 5 seconds on Amnesty International. So it was just very desperate measures to try to obfuscate what I was saying. And this is really all they have left, because the tide is turning, man. I mean, look, Natalie Portman just signed on to boycott this conference in Israel, and they are running scared. I mean, they're trying to revoke her citizenship because she's basically participating in BDS, because she said recent events have made her greatly disturbed, as it should disturb everyone, the fact that there's this ongoing massacre. And if I could just explain to people what's going on really quickly, it is horrifying, you guys. I mean, there's a thing called the Great March of Return, and it's been completely nonviolent on the side of Palestinians. It's in Gaza, which is the open-air prison where about 2 million people are housed and caged like animals, and they're not allowed to leave. I can't think of any other place in the world that refugees actually can't leave. Otherwise, they'll be shot. So there's like Israeli guard posts surrounding this place. They count their calories. They don't let them have concrete, anything that can be construed as a weapon, etc. So anyway, they're protesting this, right? Because they have no dignity, no humanity, and no agency to live their lives. And so they're protesting non-violently. They're going up to the fence, and thousands and thousands of them, and 40 people have just been executed. There's Israeli soldiers sitting up, perched on a hilltop with sniper scopes. This isn't just random gunfire that people are being hit with. They are deliberately attacking every single person with headshots, with genitalia shots. It's sick. And press. There's people marked press. I mean, that's an egregious war crime. Yet you have Nikki Haley vetoing every single UN resolution or investigation into Israel. I can't imagine another country.
Why do you think that is?
So I think that, look, Israel can only survive with U.S. sponsorship. And we love to have that beachhead in the Middle East. We love to have that military garrison because we use Israel like what happened in Syria. We used Israel to bomb Syria first to test the waters. We use Israeli forces to execute nuclear scientists in Iran. We use the Mossad to do all kinds of stuff. So we love to have that kind of military outpost in the Middle East that we can use to try to intimidate all those post-colonial states that are independent or we want to overthrow. So I think that's why, a lot of people say, oh, the lobby controls us, and I think that that's wrong. I think that there's a lot of lobbies that have influence, but I think it's more strategic than that. I really do.
And so for the Palestinians, so the Palestinians that are trapped in Gaza, and if they leave, there's no other way to go other than through Israel?
Yeah, well, yes, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, what about Egypt and Jordan? They can try to go out that way. No, I mean, basically, they're all in cahoots with the Netanyahu's administration, and they're all basically client states of the U.S. So, no, they can't leave, and Israel controls their water, the passageways, everything. They don't let them leave. Like a lot of these people who've been shot with sniper rifles can't even get treatment because they're denied treatment. So there's so many amputations that are totally unnecessary. So now you have like thousands of people who are just amputated. 5,000 people have been shot. with live ammunition.
And you've been there. And how much time did you spend when you were there?
So I was in the West Bank for a month.
And they let you go back and forth from Gaza to...
No, unfortunately, I was banned from Gaza because I was told I was a propagandist and I was not a real journalist. And I was told I was an Iranian agent, which was confusing because I thought I was a Russian agent.
Who was saying
the
this?
press minister of Israel.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think they thought it was... They probably calculated that it would be less risky to just block me from entering than having me go in and show the horrors and the abuses that are going on there. But I mean, we're talking about executing children in sniper scopes. And there's videos of these soldiers gleefully laughing. They are literally like, man, did you see his legs go up? Like, look at that shit, man. Oh, did you get a headshot? IDF soldiers have T-shirts where they have pregnant women in crosshairs that says 1 shot, 2 kills. Like, these people are fucking sick. Yeah.
Is there a photo of that
Yes,
anywhere?
there is. Look it up. IDF soldier pregnant woman T-shirt. They also have crosshairs of babies.
What the
yeah.
fuck?
And then not only that, but on top of all of this happening, you have colonial settlers who come down and they're cheering them on. They're like, this is the best show in town. They're sitting there drinking coffee and beer and just cheering on this massacre that's been going on for 4 weeks.
Look at this.
There it is. 1 shot, 2 kills.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So to stand with us, that organization.
That is a crazy
Yeah.
fucking T-shirt.
Yeah. So stand with us and all these other organizations that work on the behest of the Israeli government to try to smear anyone who criticizes it. Your time is up, man. People are waking up. You can't just keep executing people on camera and getting away with it. And, you know, if stand with us means stand with the snipers shooting kids from a sniper scope.
Why are they doing this?
They want to terrorize and put fear in the hearts of these people. They don't want them to protest. They want them to submit. They want them to submit, and they basically have dehumanized them to the point where they, you know, you can't put a kid in a sniper scope and kill him unless you've completely dehumanized him to the point where you think that he's an animal. And that's just how it works. I mean, they've been so dehumanized there, it's not even funny. And what these people are asking is very simple. They want the right to return, which is authorized by the UN when the refugees were expelled in 1948, 750.
The right to return to Israel.
The right to return to Israel and live as equal citizens. It's not about, you know, it's not about expelling the Jews or people who live there. It's about living and coexisting and having equal rights, because right now there's an apartheid state where there's 50 discriminatory laws within Israel proper, not to mention the fact that the West Bank's under Israeli military law, not to mention the fact that Gaza is an open-air prison. So within Israel proper, there's apartheid too. So it's sick. We are sponsoring this with $10 million a day. Israel would not survive without the U.S., which is why I focus on ending the U.S. empire, because I'm like, it doesn't matter if everyone in the world boycotts Israel. We're still going to subsidize the horrors and the daily atrocities with our tax dollars, and they're not going to stop. And that's why this is so fucking brazen. Wow, have we been vindicated, Joe? Because I can't think of another... I mean, when else has anyone done something this brazen? Committing an ongoing massacre for a month straight, just sniping people who are completely unarmed. This is insane. The only thing I can think of that's slightly similar is when Israeli commandos hijacked that boat. There was a flotilla going to Gaza to bring wheelchairs because they don't allow wheelchairs in. That can be construed as a weapon, even though there's tons of amputees. There was a boat going with aid workers, and they were bringing aid supplies, and commandos jumped on the ship, like helicoptered down, and just started executing like people, humanitarians that were going to bring Gaza aid. And the news made it seem like they were like, look at these people on the boat, like hitting them with chairs and stuff. It's like, dude, they fucking propelled onto the boat and started executing people. Of course you're going to use whatever you can to try to like ward off these soldiers. So that's the only other thing, and that really woke me up to the whole situation, is when I saw how the media was covering that massacre. So now seeing this, I don't know how they're getting away with it. I don't know how people have not woken up to this, but the media, the way that they're covering it, is atrocious. They're saying there's clashes. They're saying that the Palestinians are dying of head wounds. It's like, no, just say that they were executed with sniper scopes. Like, this is deliberate. But the way that the media plays around and uses this passive voice is just nuts. Whether it's Palestine, Venezuela, Syria, whenever you have like complete media uniformity just peddling a line, probably the truth is somewhere on the other side.
What does Israel want? like as a state? Like, what do they want from the Palestinians? What do they expect? Do they expect to
So-
just keep the status quo, keep business going as usual, never let those people live a normal life? Like, what do they want, and why do they have so much hate, and why haven't the Israeli people like seen the horrors of this and rebelled?
Well, to be a leftist in Israel, it's difficult, and to be an anti-Zionist, it's even more difficult because you're rejecting your entire like identity,
Your religion as well as your
everything.
political identity.
But look, it's a settler colonial state, just like a lot of other things in the past. But this is different because it's ongoing, and ever since the inception of Israel to today, the colonizers who colonized that land always knew that there was an indigenous Arab population that they wanted to kill or expel. And that's still the goal. Like from Ben Gurion himself, the original, prime minister of Israel. I mean, he said, "There's so many Arabs here. We need to expel them and take their places." So it was never a land without a people and a people without a land. It was always overrun with Arabs, and they've always just wanted to expel the indigenous population so they can have an ethno-supremacist state. And that's really what it is. And that's
so. Can you be? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you be a Muslim and live in Israel? Can you be a Muslim and live in Jerusalem?
Yeah, but there's so many discriminatory laws that basically it's an apartheid state for non-Jews.
Like in what way? Like what are the laws that?
I mean, there's so many things that people can check out, but I would really recommend the work of Miko Pilet and Ronnie Barkin. They're two anti-Zionist Israeli-born Jews who have extensively talked about this. But I mean, just in the roads, like there's settler-only roads compared to Palestinian.
Settler-only.
Yeah, compared to Palestinian roads, people have different license plates. You have different ID cards.
So if you are a person
segregated schools, like just all that stuff.
So you can't go to a regular school?
No, you can, but it's so segregated and hostile, and you're so indoctrinated from an early age to basically hate these people and think of them as the other. And I encourage everyone to check out interviews that I did with just average Israelis in the streets, because the genocidal rhetoric is very apparent and it's very open. And
is
these
there a good
people
one
were
that we
talking
could
to
play
me.
right now?
Sure. Yeah, check out Abby Martin, Israelis, candid interview with Israelis.
Did you have one opinion of that situation before you went there and then a different one after you came back?
Well, I didn't even know what Palestine was until I was 18 years old. So when people say, "Oh, you're only telling us one side of the story," look, I didn't know the Palestine side of the story until I was an adult, which really should say something about our education system and our media when you completely obfuscate an entire reality and are only told one side. But before I went there, I had a conception of what it was, but once you go, you really see how much worse it is.
Says Israeli party approves annexation plan. Oh, sorry, I lost it.
Is this the... yeah. So go to...
Coerce Palestinian departure.
Yeah, go forward like a minute or two. Go forward like 2 minutes, yeah.
These people?
After this, keep going, keep going.
And what are you asking?
Okay,
these
this is
people?
good too.
Okay.
So yeah, start playing here. This is the thing, and also the Stand With Us people in the Israeli lobby basically said, "Oh, you cherry picked these interviews. You only picked like genocidal people to talk to." What the hell are you talking about? I was in Jerusalem. There's a place called Tolerance Square. It's a bustling shopping area. I spoke to people from all backgrounds, all walks of life, and I just asked them very simple questions. What is it like to live here? How do you deal with the, problems? And basically, they just were very, very readily comfortable to tell me very crazy genocidal things on camera, thinking that would actually look good for an American audience. So keep that in mind and check this out. A lot of people are sympathizing with the Palestinian plight. Can you talk about what it's like to kind of live in this situation?
First of all, it's very hard. I'm in an organization. It's called Lahava. It's against the Jews shouldn't marry Arabs.
Did you say the organization did what again?
The organization is, the thing of it is that Jews shouldn't marry Arabs.
Shouldn't marry Arabs. Why do you feel strongly about that?
Because Jews is a special nation that God gave it to the Jews, and we don't want Jews to get mixed up together with a different nation.
I think Israelis have to take over, and they have to kick them away. It will be much better not to kill them, just to go back to to Arab countries.
As if they
You
didn't
can't
live
deal with
there.
these people. There's no need to try. There's no need to talk to them. What we can do is when they do enough harm, we retaliate. That's war, and that's the situation that any Jew who lives in Israel has to deal with.
יש לך משהו להגיד, היא אומרת ש...
על מה?
גם ככה הערבים, מקסימום.
אוקיי.
The Arabs
בסדר
made their
בעברית?
name and memory be
פשוט מאוד,
liberated.
צריך להיכנס לשטחים.
Obliterated. It's
וכל
about to get
מחבל
really
שעושה
crazy.
פיגוע צריך להרוג אותו, צריך להרוג את
And if they kill
המחבלים, ואז הם
terrorists, they'd be
יפחדו ולא
afraid to
יעשו לנו
cause us any more
בעיות, והכל יהיה
trouble,
בסדר.
and all
הם
will
יהיו
be
בכפרים
fine.
שלהם,
They'll be in their
אנחנו
villages,
נחיה
and
פה,
we'll
לא
be
צריך
here.
להיות ביחד והכל בסדר.
We don't have to live together, and everything will be just fine.
Every Arab that doing a terrorism attack, we have to kill him, and not because he's an Arab, because he's a terrorist. I think you should also kick out the family, because it all begins with chinuch. How you say it?
He's wearing a Sons of Anarchy T-shirt, by the way, which is just
Whatever
so
they teach
strange.
the kids does, you know, it's families.
This is insane.
need to... איך אומרים לאיש בערבית? כן, תגידי לי את המילה הזאת.
How do you say kick out the Arabs?
נו, תגידי לי מילים, אני לא...
Come on, tell me the words. I don't know.
She's like, I don't translate.
I can't
'cause
translate.
she doesn't want to
I don't know
say
how to
it.
translate really well.
I think we should give them a country. If you're doing any problem, you just go in there to give them a country, and then it's going to be a war between countries, you know? If they're going to throw rockets, we're going to throw one big one and done.
I don't think there's any answer.
This is insane.
There's only one way, like, I would carpet bomb them.
You would carpet bomb them?
It's the only way you could deal with it. Like, or try to stop them a different way. It never worked.
You mean all Arabs or Gaza or...
I believe that they, like, I hope to believe they're not, but I do think they are, because I don't trust them.
One more
You can't
crazy one
trust them.
coming up.
And that's the only way I believe that the only way is just to stop it completely.
I think that we're miserable. The Arabs make a פיגועים and we need to
The
kill
Arabs make
Arabs.
a terrorist attack.
We need to kill
the
Arabs.
Arabs. She's laughing.
My
That's,
friend's like, all right, have a good day.
We'll talk about this later.
I
he
mean,
says.
look, this is reflected in polls. A lot of people, when you look at Israeli society, you know, it started off as kind of a socialist project with the kibbutzes, and now it's just turned into a fascist, supremacist state where Netanyahu reflects the true face of Israel, just like Trump reflects the true face of this country. And when it's getting too toxic for even Natalie Portman to be this ambassador to Israel, you know that the tide is turning. But unfortunately, there's so much shit going on. Congress hasn't said anything. They just totally support this, man. And there's weird, like, BDS legislation trying to criminalize basically dissent, where you have contractors in Texas having to sign clauses, promise that they won't support boycott of Israel in order to rebuild hurricane homes.
What is BDS?
Boycott, divestment, sanctions. It's the movement that Palestinians have asked us to help them to, boycott. And that's what Stephen Hawking was all about. He boycotted scientific conferences in Tel Aviv. So this is what we got to do, and we have to fight our government to stop endorsing these massacres and atrocities.
Well, obviously, this attitude that these people have, it's coming from a place, and they were talking about terrorist attacks. Like, how many terrorist attacks are actually happening in Jerusalem or in Israel?
If you look at the breakdown of terrorist attacks, how many are against soldiers? And that really gives you an insight. Look, these people are being occupied militarily. The occupation is illegal under international law. And resistance is a lot of times acceptable under international law when you're being illegally occupied. So if you
there
look
are
at
terrorist attacks against Israel.
Not many. And when you look at the actual amount of people when you look at those terrorist attacks and see how many are against soldiers, like how many stabbing attacks are against soldiers, the numbers become very different.
Don't you think it's a bit different in Israel, and they're more unified because of the fact that mandatory military service exists?
Totally.
So everyone is, if soldiers are attacked, citizens are attacked. They're all the same thing. Everyone is a soldier in Israel. Essentially.
Well, no, a lot of these are like armed soldiers that are
right, but I'm saying everyone identifies with that
mentality.
because they have to do military time.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the same thing with South Korea. Places that have mandatory military service, they have a totally different idea and concept of nationalism. So they think, like, if a military base got attacked in the United States, we would think, damn, soldiers got attacked. We wouldn't necessarily think of it the same way as if, say, Dallas got attacked. A terrorist attack happened in Dallas, we would think of it as an attack on American citizens, not just military. But their military is their citizens because mandatory military service.
Yeah, and what's really weird is during the last massacre in Gaza in 2014, like half of the Israeli soldiers that died were American, because that's what the colonial settlers are. They go over there from New Jersey and they just post up on top of an Arab village, and this is what's happening. I mean, it's
half
sick.
of the soldiers that died were American soldiers.
A lot of them were. I'm not actually sure about the statistics, but I remember a lot where I was like, why are so many Americans going over there, 17-year-olds, and joining the IDF?
Right.
I mean, how bizarre is that? What kind of mentality do you have to move from like a comfortable suburb in Philadelphia to go like move on top of an Arab village and harass these people?
Is it Jewish people that are doing this?
Yes.
That want to go back to the motherland?
Yeah, there's a huge...
There's always this desire to go to the motherland. Like, it's such a tribal thing. To
It
go to
is.
the purest form of the conflict, right? Like, that's...
Touch the Wailing Wall and...
Yeah, I mean, that's the spot, right? It's the epicenter of conflict, too.
That's why it's so sad that so many Palestinians can't ever go to Jerusalem, which is one of their holiest sites is there, and they're banned because, again, they're banned from everything. So
if you're a Palestinian and you live in Gaza, you're just stuck.
You're stuck forever. And that's why these people are, like, people from America, they're like, why, that's why you have this mantra, like, oh, they want to die. They raise their kids to be suicide bombers. No, when you're in Gaza, you are born dead. You don't have a life. So that's why these people are giving up their lives to send a message to us. That's why they're doing this. That's the only reason they're doing this, is to send a message to us. Help us. That's all they can do, is use their bodies.
So their concern is if they open up Gaza, the idea is that if the Palestinians come and they live in Israel with everybody else, that they're just going to cause trouble and kill people and create suicide bombs. And that's what
the idea. That's what they say. Even though when and the Israeli lobby and the Stand With Us and all these people have said, you're portraying us as really different than we really are, because they like to portray themselves as this peaceful, loving, democratic nation. And they're like, Palestinians will say the same thing about us. Not true. I was driving around in settler plates in a car that looked like I was a colonial settler. I did not hear one person say anything remotely genocidal about Jewish people. I talked to
You look like you could be Jewish
people.
easy.
Yeah.
You could fit right in.
Yeah, I fit right in. Just move on top of an Arab village. I mean, it's nuts. And thank you for letting me talk about this, because it is difficult to talk about it. And I'm sure it wasn't easy to get, hundreds of emails telling you to denounce me and all that other stuff.
Well,
I mean,
we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
I know you. I'm not denouncing you.
And it's coming from somewhere coordinated. That's the thing. There's a lot of money behind these attack campaigns. So.
Well, I understand their perspective if they don't have the same experience that you've had being over there. And I mean, there's a lot of people over here that are extremely loyal to Israel that have never stepped foot in Israel.
Totally.
And maybe they haven't experienced what you've experienced. Well, not maybe, most likely. It's just terrifying to me. Forget about whether it's Israel or Palestine. Forget about what it is. The idea that people could be born stuck in this spot and really have no recourse and nowhere to go, and just be thought of by people that live just a few miles away from you, that you're a subhuman. And that the fact that someone can make that T-shirt with 1 bullet, 2 kills, and show a pregnant woman with crosshairs on her belly, that scares the shit out of me. That is Nazi Germany. I mean, the fact that they can't understand that this treatment of the Palestinians in that T-shirt is essentially the same way the Nazis were looking at the Jews. It's treating people as the other. It's a very difficult to understand quality of human psychology, is that when we're in conflict with another nation, another person, we think of them as less than us, like literally less human, not human, the enemy. They're that thing that we have to stop, and it's been a part of warfare since the beginning of time.
Absolutely. That's what's so trippy to me about like the British occupation of Ireland, because these, I mean, I don't know if you've seen that movie, The Wind That Shakes the Barleys. Holy shit, that's a good movie. Oh, I mean, it's just nuts, because I can see like the conflicts around the world, and the otherism is usually someone who looks different than you, and but this is like all white dudes who like all speak the same language, and they're just massacring each other.
Yeah, I was in Belfast a few years back. I did a show out there, and after the show, we went outside, and the cars, the police cars, they looked like they were in the craziest fucking war zone you'd ever seen. First of all, the entire thing, the front of the car was completely covered in thick steel. They had this big steel grate over the windshield. They had bomb shielding all over the car. We were looking at the cop car, we're like, what the fuck is this? Like, oh yeah, man, this is when the IRA was bombing. This is what they did. They just started setting everything up like this. And we were talking to this driver, and the driver was explaining to us what it used to be like when, you know, they were at war, and what people had done to people that knew him, and, you know, just people that look incredibly similar to each other, again, speaking the same language, just gutting each other in the street, torturing each other, killing each other, Protestants versus Catholics. I mean, it's that thing that humans do where they treat an enemy as something less than them, the other, and just decide that that's the red team and we're the blue team, so fuck them. That is a scary, creepy fucking thing that humans are capable of.
I'm confused about the whole religious, like how it grew into a religious conflict, because originally it was just the British colonial overlords like harassing the fuck and beating the hell and raping women who were just Irish in these villages and towns. And you know, how much can you subjugate other people and put them in cages like in Gaza, or do this and harass them and humiliate them until they do something about it? Yeah. I mean, that's just the nature of human beings. You can't cage people.
Well, if anybody wants, if you really want peace on earth, I mean, is that really possible, first of all, right? There's always a question, like, we're so tribal and people are so committed to their side and their team, and is it ever possible to eliminate all war? But the first step has got to be, we have to be able to identify with those people and see their plight and understand, put yourself in their position. If you were born in Gaza, if you were born, you know, in Northern Ireland, back when the war was going on, if you were born, I mean, pick a spot where there's a conflict. You've got to be able to realize, like, we got lucky. You got lucky. We got lucky we live in California. I got lucky I was born in New Jersey. We got lucky we're not in Gaza. We got lucky we're not wherever it is, wherever the conflict is. If you can't see that, if you've blocked off that aspect of your perception, this is a classic trait that human beings have exhibited since probably the beginning of tribal life, the beginning of like organized groups of people living together in a community, fighting against all outsiders. And it's almost like ingrained in our DNA. The way we stay alive is anybody who's outside of us, fuck them.
Well, like you said, we're only 2 people ago. It's only literally like,
yeah.
I mean, how crazy is that?
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah. 3 people ago, we had slaves. Yeah.
3 people ago.
3 people ago. Yeah.
That's it.
People live to be 100.
That's it.
Yeah, that's real. I mean, and no one says that. You know, they don't look at it like human beings. We rely on information, right? We rely on like, oh, that's what's going on? Oh, I didn't know. You know, like most of us don't know. You're just driving in your car. You're doing your life. You're really not getting information from all over the globe. How many people accurately even understand why North Korea hates us so much?
Oh,
and
no one.
The amount of fucking shit we dropped on them during the war.
We killed 20% of their population.
Yeah.
20%!
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
How many millions of Americans is that?
We're like, that wacky Kim Jong-un, his fucking haircut. You hear what he did? He's crazy. He has Dennis Rodman comes over there. They play basketball. I mean, that's literally most people, that's the extent of their understanding of why North Korea distrusts the United States.
Even though after we decimated, you know, the entire country, all the infrastructure, dropped napalm over the entire country, where we actually retreated only because there was no infrastructure left to bomb. And for the past, I don't know, 70 years, North Korea has literally been building up defenses to prepare for the next time that they know that will happen. And we're like, oh my God, they're so fucking crazy. Look at this crazy military fascist state. It's like, well, I mean, there's a reason behind all these things. They don't happen in a vacuum.
I was reading an article today about how their nuclear test site is imploding. Ooh. Like they've blown up so much over there that the fucking ground's caving in. They're opening up a portal to hell. like they're blowing a hole through the earth.
But something really good could come out of it with the peace talks. President Moon of South Korea and Kim Jong-un, and now
Yeah.
Trump is forced to jump on board. And if Trump can pull this off, then more power to him, man.
That's got to be so strange. The North Koreans and South Koreans looking exactly the same, staring at each other across the line. You know, back when I was competing in Taekwondo, it was, Koreans are extremely nationalistic. And the South Koreans and the North Koreans, you know, they would occasionally compete. In North Korea, it was, you know, it's got to be so bizarre to think that if you zigged, if your ancestors zigged instead of zagged, if you were born like 50 miles that way, you'd be North Korean and you'd be stuck under the ruling of this fucking wacky sun. And instead, you're over here making Samsung phones, you know?
Well, for the first couple decades, South Korea was ruled by dictators also who were just as crazy. So this whole like, oh, we weren't friends with him because of him being a dictator. It's like, no, you just were trying to, you know, the whole
Well, we
communism.
supported one side.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
side
yeah.
we supported makes kick-ass electronics. And they're addicted to plastic surgery. Have you seen what they're doing with women's eyes over there?
No.
Oh, my goodness. Women in South Korea, it's so common that they get their eyes done. They get their eyes done like an anime character.
Whoa.
They get their
like
lids
widened?
cut. Yeah, they
Oh,
get their lids
shit.
cut and pulled up so that they have these giant Western eyes, but exaggerated. And it's so common that, like, if you didn't know any better, you would think that this is like, oh, well, some people look like this.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
there's so much plastic surgery over there that it's extremely common for these women to get these weird fucking eyes. Jamie, see if you pull it up, because this is something that I became aware of, Jesus, I want to say like 8 or 9 years ago, when I was like, I just thought it was just a girl that looked like that. Like,
No
that's not even
way.
a good example. That girl still looks Asian. That's a boy. Like, look at what they're doing.
Whoa.
They're westernizing their eyes. But there's some really good. That guy got his jaw done. He looks better on the right.
No
But like
way.
that one, that's a good example.
Wow.
You see what they're doing? It's like they're doing this strange thing with their eyes, where they're making their eyes
like a
larger.
cartoon.
Yeah, but it's extremely common.
And whitening cream is
Yeah.
huge too there.
Yeah, see, they're changing
Whoa.
their eyes before, after. Yay! Look,
That
so
sucks.
much more eyelashes. Well, I wonder what was going on. Yeah, see this
Whoa,
girl.
it looks painful.
Yeah, I'm sure it sucks, but afterwards she gets so much more dick. like, I mean, it's. Well, I wonder. First of all, I wonder why genetically their eyes are like that. That's interesting to think of. Like what? Like we know that the reason why people in England and Ireland and in these northern climates, like why they became so pale. They became so pale because they had a very strong lack of vitamin D because there's no sun in the air. So they basically like a reflector for the sun. They try to absorb as much sun as possible because they live in this cloudy area, as opposed to our great ancestors who lived in Africa. And that's literally why white people exist.
Yeah.
We're just Africans with lack of vitamin D.
So race is a construct.
Oh, fuck, most certainly is, but it's also observable, right? Like there's a clear ancestral origin to certain body types and diets. Like there's certain people that live in parts of West Africa. They're just fucking phenomenal runners, and there's no denying that. There's certain traits that people have that you can clearly say. I think the real problem is when we say race. Like the real problem, and then that gets us tribal again. That's us versus them again, because it's just humans. It's just humans that it's one race. But humans that live in high altitude climates are
Totally.
much more adapted to low oxygen environments. Humans that live in like the Inuit, that live in extreme cold climates and have no access to vegetables, they adapt to this specific fat-rich diet. Their hands are less likely to get cold. They actually developed like a genetic predisposition to for their ability to withstand cold with their hands. Like we would go over there and we'd fucking, our hands would be numb. We'd be like fuck, and they would just be like playing piano and shit. Like it wouldn't even bother them. Like this is genetic. I mean, this is because their bodies have adapted. But they're one race.
Right.
It's just humans are malleable. We're super flexible. You know, and you could see that in your lifetime, right? I mean, if someone works out, they develop more muscle, they get stronger, and then there's the concept of epigenetics and the possibility that some of these traits and some of these learned behaviors you're passing on to your children through genes. So
Have you seen Animal Planet?
What do you mean? What is it?
So
it's
it's
a show.
Yeah, it's a show that it shows how animals and the symbiotic relationship between humans and animals. It's really insane. And there's a whole Inuit section, but there's like, tribes in the jungle and stuff who will work with birds to get beehives, and the birds will get the reward and get some honey. And then if you don't give them any honey, then they'll trick you and take you to like a non-beehive tree. I mean, it's just nuts. And then helping humans fish and. Man, Blue Planet 2 is also fucking nominal. You would love it, dude. There's an octopus who makes a seashell suit. He literally makes a suit of armor out of shells to block himself from a shark. It's nuts. Wow. It's super nuts.
Yeah, animals are huge. I mean, they're weird, and we're animals.
Yeah.
We don't like to think we are because we can talk and sing songs and shit and get our eyes done, but we're animals in some sort of strange way.
We're the same as Trump.
Yeah.
Do you see his big boxy suits? Somehow he's got a good ass tailor, man.
Well, my
he
favorite
doesn't look
thing
obese, but he is.
The Trump statue. Jamie and I were talking about it yesterday which was it? The presidential House of Wax or some shit?
Oh, no.
The Disney one?
Please tell me it's bad.
It's crazy. It's like they're punking him.
No way. That's great.
You ever seen it?
I love it.
Oh,
my God. It's so good.
Make that larger so you can see what it looks like.
Operation
Disney
Mindfuck
World,
Trump.
Robot Trump debuts at Disney World. But I'm telling you, it doesn't look anything like him. Like, if I was the person who created, look, that's George Washington. Seems normal. But look at the Trump one.
Wait.
Like, what in the fuck is that? It doesn't look anything like him.
Oh, God.
Like, look at it.
So disturbing.
Can you pause that, Jamie?
He looks like he's like 20 years older than he is.
It doesn't even look like him. I mean, whoever that artist is, like, he's got to be punking him. There's no way. He, like, did some weird shit to his jaw. His jaw's, like, extended and creepy. He made his neck skinnier.
He was the same artist that did the Cristiano Ronaldo bust. You saw that, right?
No.
He looks pretty much the same.
See if you can go find a photo of it, because in high-res photos, there's a low-res video. It's difficult to see how shitty it is, but it's so shitty that it looks fake. Yeah. Like no, this is not really the one. Like, no, they fucking commissioned an artist, and this is the artist's creation.
Where is this animatronic wax museum?
I don't know, but I'm going. Wherever it is.
It's in Disney World. It's the
Why
Hall
is
President.
Trump's
Disney
family
World or Land?
so inbred looking?
World, I believe. Disney World.
Do you think they look inbred?
Eric Trump?
He looks odd.
He looks like he has no upper gums
there it is.
or
Like,
something.
look at that. Come on.
Oh my God, that's horrifying.
Punking him.
That's
They're punking
horrifying.
him.
Good.
But either way, good or bad, this is clearly. Wow, it does
Is
look
that
like
the
Hillary.
Wax Museum of Hillary?
Obama one
Do
looks
not
terrible.
tell me that's no.
Okay, they suck.
Okay,
This might
this
all
is
suck.
fire this guy.
Look at the Obama one. That's terrible. They just suck. I could do better than that.
This
And
is
I
like a
suck at
knockoff
sculpting.
wax museum.
This
They've
is
got all the-
Look how bad that is. That doesn't look anything like him.
Oh God, turn it off.
It's great that they can do like Jefferson and Lincoln and all that stuff, because all they had was drawings.
Oh God,
you know,
terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know how we got onto that. Oh, humans, malleable humans. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, but just like slavery doesn't exist anymore in the United States, at least. I'm hoping that as time goes on, there's going to be less tribalism, and that as human beings are able to freely travel and communicate with each other, we're going to be dealing with less of this. But
isn't it sad that it seems like it's almost getting worse, even though we have all the information available at our fingertips? We're still like, we just elected someone who basically got famous politically because he said Obama was a secret Muslim Kenyan
people
terrorist.
love hearing that shit. They love hearing that shit, and they don't want to hear anything differently. Do you know what's going on right now between Yeti coolers and the NRA?
No.
It's fascinating, because this just shows how tribal and crazy people get. Yeti coolers, they canceled some. They had these programs like go to. Do you know my friend Ben O'Brien's Instagram? Do you know that?
I saw it on Adam Greentree. I think
Yeah,
too.
put it on Adam Greentree's, and we could read it. But what Yeti did, they discontinued these. I forget what the way they described the program, but they had a bunch of outdated incentive programs where, like if you signed up for something, you get a discount, like a discounted program. Here it is. Discount,
What is
outdated
Yeti?
discounting program. Yeti makes super high-end coolers.
Okay.
They're like really expensive, but they literally will keep ice for days.
Ooh.
You could put ice in them and go to the desert, and 5 days later you have ice in that cooler. And I'm not bullshitting.
Put your elk meat in
They're
it.
fucking phenomenal.
Love it.
That's exactly what I do with it.
Nice.
They're phenomenal. So anyway, they notified the NRA, and the organization has changed. Yeti explained to them that they're offering an alternative customization program broadly available to consumers and organizations, including the NRA Foundation. So then the NRA releases this statement that Yeti Coolers doesn't want to work with the NRA anymore. They don't support the Second Amendment, so fuck them. So people start blowing up their Yeti Coolers.
Just like the Keurig coffee maker.
I'm not kidding. They filled their Yeti Coolers up with that thermite shit, or what is that stuff? Not thermite. What's that explosive shit?
I know exactly what you're
you know
talking
what I'm
about. Stephen Paddock had a bunch of that shit in his car.
What is that shit? Whatever the... Is that what it is? And Yeti supporters blowing up Yeti Coolers.
Yeah, he says it's all a big mistake.
Look at this.
No,
look at this. Boom! So he's like, hey, fuck, this is what I think about Yeti Coolers. You can suck my dick. I'm American. So they filled it up with this explosive shit. And by the way, these coolers are fucking expensive. They're super engineered, and you know they start at like $300. So this is, look at they're blowing this thing. I'm telling you, these people are just looking for an excuse to blow shit up. But there's a great quote in this article. What is this article from? What is this website? Yeah, is this the Washington Post?
This is nuts.
There's a great quote in this article that sort of highlights how fucking preposterous this all is. It's, I don't think it's the Washington Post.
These people are
one.
such babies.
But it's,
good God.
But I don't think it's that. What I really think is that they want an enemy. They're happy when something happens. And even though Yeti's explained, no, their whole fucking business is hunters and fishermen and anglers. They're not anti-NRA. They're definitely not anti-Second Amendment. Like, fucking relax. So even after they put out that statement, the NRA doubled down and released another statement. You know you made a big mistake, and now you're paying for it. Woo! Let's blow up some more.
Blow them up, kids.
I really think we have a real problem. And especially, there's a real problem in that regard, because they need to understand, everybody need to understand that we should all, anybody that supports any outdoor activities has to understand that the conflict, if you have any internal conflict against each other, like, but the thing about hunters and fishermen, all these people, what their real opposition is animal rights activists and radical animal liberation organization type people. That's the real enemy. The enemy isn't Yeti Coolers, who makes their business selling shit to hunters and fishermen and anglers. Like, these people are crazy. So this conflict just shows to me, like, people are just looking for a fight.
Right.
Like, you know how long it takes to get all that fucking explosive shit and put it in a cooler? This has just happened. And these guys, we're ready. We got the explosives.
What they say about Yeti? Get out of the explosives, kid.
Put it in the field. Let's get the camera ready. We got to put this up on Facebook. I need to get some likes. And they're boom, and they're blowing up these fucking $300, $500 coolers. They're crazy.
Buy them up.
Yeah, but now this also is really fascinating. Yeah, I'll send this to you, Jamie, because I sent it to my friend Ben O'Brien, who's freaking out about this because Ben is he's an executive at Yeti. My buddy Ben, and you know, I sent him this thing where all these other cooler companies are freaking out and jumping in and saying we're all second. It's on Deadspin. Here, Jamie, I'll send it to you right now.
Well, these people kill me. All these alt-right. I mean, I don't know if they're alt-right.
That's not even alt-right.
But a lot of people who say, you know, liberals are snowflakes and you cry about everything. It's like, dude, you guys are literally have built careers off being victims. I mean, what is happening here? I mean, I know that this is not exactly the same thing, but it kind of is ridiculous, don't you think?
Well,
to protest, you throw your Keurig coffee maker out there and smash it with a bat.
Well, that's Sean Hannity. He speaks the truth, and these goddamn liberals are trying to silence the truth, and I'm not having it from Keurig. You want to boycott Sean Hannity? I'm going to boycott you.
Like the Laura Ingraham thing was fascinating. Here it is. Bison Coolers. Look at these people. Only tap like if you have a Second Amendment supporting family-owned, made in the USA cooler company.
We love Trump. We love guns and we love Trump.
Join the herd, it says. Look at that. Join the herd. How about join the herd? What?
Join the herd.
The flock, you mean, of sheep, you fuck. You're trying to get people to be sheep. Like, join the herd. Why would you say herd? Are people cattle, you crazy asshole?
Yeah, they're speaking to an audience there.
There's a great quote in that. Scroll down a little bit, Jamie. Scroll down a little bit.
I like how the Second Amendment,
So here it is. Scroll
Little
down.
YouTube video.
Scroll down so I could read that bottom text. It says, so here we find ourselves in the midst of a dumb as rocks arm race between essentially indistinguishable cooler brands, all trying to declare their undying devotion to guns more fervently than their rivals. The whole shit is exactly as stupid as it seems. And amid the fog of marketing bullshit and bad faith NRA posturing, there's one truth that none of this mess can obscure. $479.99 is too much to pay for a cooler.
Thank you.
Well, I disagree because they're solid fucking coolers. They're worth it. If you can keep
If you're using
ice,
it for what you're using it
yeah,
for,
if you
that's
can eat
different.
ice, if you go hunting or camping, you can keep
Or
ice in
organ
that thing for
harvesting,
5 fucking days.
very important to keep those organs
They're
fresh.
insanely good coolers. But who wrote that article? Give that guy some
That's
fucking
hilarious,
props.
man.
The Deadspin author.
Patrick Redford.
God
Props.
bless you, Patrick.
Props,
for that dumb
Patrick.
as rocks quote. It's fucking so stupid. They're blowing up coolers.
This is what our discourse has become.
Yeah.
It's like mass hallucinations on both sides of the political aisle. You're either a Russian bot or troll, or
Yeah.
everything's fake news
Right.
and it's all, QAnon,
Or
like
you're a
this rabbit hole,
libtard.
or you're a libtard or a snowflake. It's
Let's talk about that other thing.
the QAnon thing.
No, the guy who blew up, or the guy who ran over those people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That is, what is the new word? Ansel? What is the word?
Insole. It's
Insole?
involuntary celibate.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
these
so this
people are
is-
killing people because now Bourdain was tweeting that there's like some sort of a Reddit forum with all these folks, and there's like 40,000 members.
Oh, totally. Well, the guy who shot a bunch of women in Santa Barbara a couple of years ago, he
Yes.
was also like, I'm so attractive. Why don't you guys want to have sex with me? It's like, look, it doesn't matter what you look like. There's healthy, loving relationships that exist for everyone.
Yeah, he was a little cutie.
Yeah.
The little murderer. He was a little cutie.
So it's just
Like,
crazy
just
to me
needed
when
better
people
friends.
blame women and are violent misogynists because they are, they think that they're unattractive and they're basically just blame like attractive women for not having sex with them. It's really disturbing. And this guy apparently mowed down a bunch of people in Toronto because he was one of these people.
Insoles creating rules, and honestly, this sickens me. What?
No, this is the
This
the
is the
whole
Reddit.
post.
Oh, God,
And
don't
sell
go down
tiers,
this
70,000
rabbit hole.
70,000.
70,000 now, but I think it was 40,000 yesterday. So there's like a bunch of goofballs that just signed up just to read, see what the fuck's going on over there.
Oh, no.
Because people are freaking out. But the idea, okay, here it is. Insult Tears is a place for folks to submit screenshots, not direct links, of crazy stuff posted by self-describing insults.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's a making
So this
fun
is
of them.
this is the mocking one.
yeah.
There's another one though. There's another one that Bourdain was quoting. Look, it's fucking
disturbing.
hard out there for a pimp. I get it, but don't take a truck and run over a bunch of civilians because you can't get laid. Just should there be classes that teach people how to be nice so people like them?
It's nuts, man.
Like there's those pickup artist type guys who do like seminars on how to pick people up. Shouldn't there be like, hey, this is how to be a nice person,
Right?
Like this is how you want. Well, you want a girlfriend? Oh, okay. Well, you got to be someone that people want to be with. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
how do you do that? Oh,
Exactly.
well, some people don't know how to do it. Some
Right.
people are just socially fucked up and.
They live on Reddit. They don't leave their basement, and this is what comes out of it. It's really unfortunate. They need to interact with normal people in society and realize that there's someone for everyone. I mean, it
Not
doesn't-
really though.
there could be.
Maybe there are, right? You got to find out incel women. There's no incel women. Women can always get laid, right? There's no such thing.
Something tells me there's no incel women. Well,
Yeah.
I know that. Yeah.
But I
It's-
mean, did you hear about this term before?
I did
this-
not know about this term before. No.
How many of these terms are out there that we don't know about that are going to blow up in our face?
Yeah. Right. I mean, that are going to commit massacres, and then we're going to have to find out about some other weird subculture on Reddit that has been.
There's multiple of them.
It's a fucking weird time to be alive. Like the weirdest, I think, in
It's really
history.
insane. I mean, like I said before, the mass hallucinations, there's no way to have actual dialogue or discourse about reality because you're a Russian bot.
Yeah.
The liberals have not, and I mean the liberals meaning the neoliberal, the think tank establishment, the people that people call leftists, which is a misnomer. But those people are so in denial about the fact that Trump won that they still just have to blame Russia for the fact that Trump is our president. They can't accept that he won democratically.
Yeah. No.
So it's really pathetic that now you have them suing the DNC over this erroneous, fraudulent lawsuit that's basically threatening press freedom. They're basically saying if you publish leaks, including Trump's tax returns, you could even say, I mean, this is what journalists do. They publish things that are that people give them. That's economic espionage, they said. So this has profound implications for press freedom, and it's incredible how desperate they are. They're slapping a lawsuit on Julian Assange, who's still arbitrarily detained in an embassy.
Didn't they cut off his internet?
Yeah, they cut off his internet.
So how's he get online?
He is not online. They basically are trying to force him out at this point.
And if they force him out, they're just going to jail him on trumped up charges because they're trying to get him on this sex charge. But hasn't that sex charge been dropped?
It was dropped. There's a lot of weird things about it initially. I don't know. All I know is that Assange, they basically said that they could not promise that he won't be extradited to the U.S., which means they will extradite him to the U.S. And we've already had Pompeo, who's the psychotic Koch brothers shill who just got appointed, said he wants to basically see Julian Assange go down. I mean, he had harsh words for Julian Assange. So even though Trump talks out of both sides of his mouth on the campaign, he was like, I love WikiLeaks. He is going to prosecute him, probably to save his own ass and to pretend like he, Did
he say I love WikiLeaks?
He actually did, yeah, during the campaign. He was
Isn't Julian Assange banging Pamela Anderson?
It looks like he did, huh? Julian Anderson, Pamela Anderson brought him a bunch of Chinese food to the embassy.
It gets crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
It gets crazy. She goes
I never
to the
thought
fucking
that
Ecuador
I'd see
embassy.
Julian Assange, promote Gateway Pundit. That's disturbing. But
what is that?
Well, remember last time I was on, you brought up the whole Pizzagate thing, and we were talking about how Julian Assange has been.
WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks.
I think that he's trolling, but it's an irresponsible trolling where he's just kind of trying to stir shit. I mean, I don't know if I were Julian Assange, who knows how I would feel being pushed in an embassy and being arbitrarily detained like that and not being able to leave.
Look at all the shit he wrote. Oh, he must be going crazy. I mean, Julian Assange literally must be going crazy.
Right.
I mean,
and especially without
the
the internet was really what was saving him. So now that London Moreno and
look at all these quotes.
Yeah,
this just came out. Trump said, "WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks.
I love WikiLeaks."
And then again, he says,
"I love you."
October 2016. The WikiLeaks stuff is unbelievable. It tells you the inner heart. You got to read it. It tells you the inner heart. What? The guy just flies by the seat of his pants. It's so fucking hilarious.
I know.
None of this is prepared. It's been amazing. It's coming from WikiLeaks. And then another one says, another one came in today, Trump said. This WikiLeaks is like a treasure trove. Another one, he says, getting off the plane, we're just announcing new WikiLeaks. And I wanted to say there that... But I didn't want to keep you waiting, said Trump. Boy, I love reading those WikiLeaks. This is hilarious. Like, let him go then, Donald.
I know.
Let that guy free.
Yeah, why don't you...
pardon him.
Yeah, pardon his ass.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't he? Like, I don't understand why he wouldn't.
Because he's a bullshitter. He's a con artist, and he's tricked everyone into thinking that he's this somehow anti-deep state, anti-establishment guy, and he's not. And Julian Assange... if he pardons him, then that's his undoing. I think if anything, he'll prosecute him.
Where's that girl that accused him of was surprise sex? That's what she accused him of. Like they had sex with a condom, and in the middle of the night, he had sex with her with no condom.
Without a condom, and in Sweden,
snuck it in.
And in Sweden, it's
I think they called it surprise sex.
Is that a new term? Just like insult.
I think that's what they called it.
Sex.
But I mean, how the fuck is that guy going to get exported to the United States because of that? How's he going to get deported?
Sex by surprise.
Oh, sex by surprise. Well,
Pamela Anderson's the next honeypot.
They need editors because they should cut out a couple of words there.
Yeah, it's insane. And meanwhile, while Trump is this like internet troll, and he definitely is an internet troll, meanwhile, the evangelicals are taking the fuck over. All these Fifth Circuit court judges that Trump has appointed, they're all like from the 1600s. The like, mentality is like 500 years old. Like
Sessions scares the shit out of me
dude,
too.
Sessions, DeVos, Pence,
yeah.
Pompeo. It talks about the rapture all the time.
Oh, the rapture. When is it coming? Does he have an idea?
I don't know, man. But they're all doing a self-fulfilling prophecy with Bolton at the helm. I mean, Jesus Christ, with Bolton and Giuliani and Nikki Haley and
what is
Pompeo.
Giuliani going to do? He's going to fix it? He's going to come in and fix it?
He's another deep state outsider. This motherfucker.
What is he supposed to do?
I don't know.
He's supposed to like end the Mueller probe, and Mueller's like, yeah, I'll get right on that.
The Bolton shit's so nuts though, because it's like, dude, these people were way too crazy to even be taken seriously during like the Bush administration. I mean, they were the most psychotic outliers of the Islamophobic neocon wings, where John Bolton's writing op-eds saying why we need to attack North Korea first. Why we need to bomb Iran, bomb Iran. So
Giuliani meets with Mueller, tries to determine if he has an open mind.
Yeah, another headline I just saw says he's meeting with Mueller to negotiate an interview with Trump.
Ah, do you remember when? That's it. So he's like the middleman. Remember when Giuliani was rocking the comb over? You think he talked to Donald? Go, Donald, just shave it. Look at me. Look at me.
Donald.
Look at me, Donald. I'm free.
Those silkworms, Chinese silkworms that make your headpiece.
He's got something wacky going on up there.
Taylor
Comey
man
was talking about it. Comey was saying that it appears to all be his. He goes, and I will admit that I gave it a good look.
while I was sucking his dick.
You saw the video of it float. Well, it was Comey.
Oh,
No,
Comey.
yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about Giuliani.
You saw the video of it flowing in the wind.
Oh, that was horrifying.
It was the craziest
that
thing
was
ever.
horrifying.
It didn't even look like. It looked like a demon with a Trump suit on.
Yeah, that
Here
was
it is.
really.
Look at
Oh
that.
God, I
that's
actually
like-
can't.
That's almost
I
like
actually can't.
demonic.
Oh God.
Like there's like a monster's underneath there.
God help us.
Like they doll him up. A demon in a Trump suit.
Did you see Ivanka Trump holding those vials? Like she was like trying to cure cancer. She's like holding
she's a
these vials,
scientist.
like just doing her biology stuff in the lab.
Did she do a lot of that?
Just testing some samples.
Thank God they
just
let
looking
the
at some
first lady-
diseases.
Yeah.
Dude, she fucking hates him so much.
It's weird, right?
Dude.
See when he tries to hold her hand,
Oh.
and she like, get away. Get away. That's like, there's a bunch of clips of him like trying to hold hands with her. She's like, nope. There's a bunch from her wearing the wacky white hat. He's like, come on, hold my hand, hold my hand. Nope, nope, not gonna do it. People are watching.
dude.
You gotta hold my hand. People are watching. Nope, not gonna do it. It's so strange. It's like
That's
I
like
want-
when
look at
Anderson
this.
Cooper was like, "Did you want to have sex
Here,
with Trump?" And
here's
she
the
was like,
thing.
"No, of course I didn't." Oh man. Oh no,
Look
she
at
hates
this.
him so
I touch your hand. I touch your hand. There it is. That's my pinky. I'm trying to get your hand, but he got it. Eventually, he got it.
She's
He
like,
got
"Oh
it.
shit."
He got it.
Did you see him? Look at him and Macron.
Poor
Oh
girl.
my god.
But you know
She
what's
looks like
interesting?
she's-
People
yeah.
are really admiring her because of her composure through all this. Because she's not freaking
She
out
just
and
looks
going
like a
crazy.
statue.
Well, she's just kind of keeping it together through all this. I mean, it's got to be hard.
Yeah, it
Being
is.
the
I mean,
fucking president after this guy, like the scrutiny that he's been under, and whether he deserves it or not. I'm not saying he doesn't, but who the fuck would want that microscope up your ass?
Yeah.
Who would want that?
I think it's an arrangement, just like him and Stormy Daniels, that she
him-
wanted a
him
job
and
on The
that.
Apprenticeship.
Yeah, for
Or,
sure. But what I'm
yeah,
saying is,
kinda.
like, how are we going to get
Mm-hmm.
another president? Like, they're gonna. Do you know what the fuck they're gonna look up Kanye's ass with a microscope, and he's gonna go crazy again. He's gonna freak out and go to some insane asylum. Like, he doesn't understand that.
Did
He's
you
saying.
see, he tweeted, he was like, "Does this look like the sunken place?" And it's just like his giant corridor in his house, and it's like, I don't know, dude. I think
The
you're like,
sunken place?
oh, because from Get Out, because everyone's like, dude, you're in the sunken place. You know, in Get Out when he sinks down to the sunken place, but he's like doubling down, and he's like, "Does this look like the sunken place?" And it's
So
like
he's showing his baller house,
mansion.
his baller house in Hidden Hills.
Just like, have you seen what is it? Mayweather, is that the guy's name?
Yeah,
His
Floyd.
his Instagram is unbelievable, dude.
Oh, it's great. It's
Dude,
all
it's
money and
hilarious.
bitches.
He's all like wearing costumes and shit. He's like, "I'm the Joker," and it's like, dude, it's not even Halloween. What are you doing?
I'm having fun. I got
He's having
$400 million in the bank. He's just running around
Let
with
him live his
diamonds on.
life before traumatic brain injury. No, just joking.
He doesn't even have brain injury. What's fascinating about him,
He whips ass.
so he's such a good domestic. Whoa, look at that. He's such
Does
a
this
good
look like the
defensive
sunken
fighter.
place?
This is
Just counting his
This is Floyd, the breadwinner. It says he's just sitting there counting.
Dude, there's a hilarious photo of him like sitting in the middle of just this huge empty room, and he's just like, I don't even know. His
Find the
captions are
Kanye photo.
hysterical, dude.
Kanye's a trip. He really is a trip, and he's whether he means to be or not, he's a master at getting people to pay attention to him. Whether this is just because he's so wacky that everybody's paying attention to him, or whether it's a real calculated sort of maneuver to act outrageous and act like he's out of control. But boy, is he fucking good at it. Here it is.
Look at him. It's like, dude, do you even have any furniture? There's like a bench at the end of this weird ass hall.
Do this look like the sunken place?
Cry left.
And he's crying, laughing. No, it looks
sucks.
like this looks like a table.
It kind of
and
looks
you
like
got some
shit,
chairs.
man. You don't really have good style. What the fuck?
Well, he's got a white torso in the background. Scroll up again. But what is
Wow.
that torso in the background? What's that?
That's-
Kim's like, actually, can we just get that out of here? The waist is too thick.
Yeah.
Can you give this thing lipo?
A bigger ass.
Give it a bigger ass. So strange.
So
Here's
this
my
is-
corridor.
It's
Look
like,
at
what
my
is this,
corridor.
a parking lot? Like
Look
a
at
parking
this
garage? Like, what is this?
long
This is
ass
so
open
weird.
space with white walls. Suck it.
Does this look like the sunken place? Ha 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 ha.
Wow, fantastic. Babe, we had a rule not to
This
show our
is
home on
so
social
weird,
media.
man.
So, can we now allow KUWK, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, filming in the home?
This is so
LOL.
so weird.
Are they're communicating only through tweets. This is fascinating.
She's like, come home and take care of
Yeah.
the kids. They've been waiting.
No, I'm out here being a motherfucking genius.
Wow. Poor Biden.
I'm out here blowing minds. Do you like how Trump is so desperate for attention that he was like, "Cool, Kanye, thank you."
Yeah, he's like,
just
I love you. I love you, Kanye.
Thank you, Kanye.
Yeah. I was talking about how I wanted Kanye, or not Kanye, I wanted to meet with Trump to see if I could talk him into actually fighting Joe Biden. It's like, you're a businessman.
I would
you
pay
want
to
make
see
money?
that.
I'd be like, you're the best at everything. You'd be the best at fighting.
Hey, we're in a reality star culture.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well,
Why
you
not
know how much
bet
money
on
he-
fights?
first of all,
It'd be awesome.
Joe Biden's on death door. All he has to do is have a stiff jab, and Joe Biden's
Right.
going down. He's fucked. You know, he could. Trump really could win.
Just take his
just ramp
headpiece
up
off,
the diet pills.
choke him with the
Yeah.
hairpiece.
You can't. That hairpiece is fragile. You can't.
So, dude, last time I was on, I was just about to go to Venezuela, and that was insane. I went and embedded myself in the protests there. Holy shit, is the media lying about that too? And then
What are they lying about?
They're, Vice is on the ground acting like badasses. They're embedding themselves in the protests and being like, "Look at these fucking awesome dudes." It was basically fascist mobs tried to lynch us, and we got chased out of the country, and then our colleague got shot because we dared to tell that the death toll that we kept hearing in the mainstream media, that Maduro's mowing down all these protesters. We found out that the majority of the deaths were actually caused by the protesters, like either shooting people, lynching people alive, burning them alive, or doing these giant road blockades where they would light giant flaming piles of trash and people would be, flying off the freeway or getting in accidents and shit. And so once we just reported those facts, then this lynch mob came after us. It was very, very scary. And look, I mean, the media is lying about the popular support that Maduro's government has. There was massive pro-government rallies there, and the country's pretty divided, where it just depends on who you talk to.
So what is Vice doing over there?
I mean, Vice is an imperial arm. Everyone should check out my brother's documentary called
Vice is an imperial arm?
Oh, dude,
Of
100% of the U.S. government.
Shane Smith's an imperial arm?
Shane Smith welcomed Obama and Biden into their office, and they were like BFF, dude. The COO of Vice was like
because
Obama's like spokesperson.
I'm good friends with Shane. I know him. I know him very well.
Well, I mean, Vice
I guarantee
repeats-
you he's not an arm of the imperial government.
I'm saying they're lying.
They're lying.
They're lying.
Okay.
The line, not lying.
the line.
Because
The line.
look, I think Obama and Biden are war criminals, so I don't think it's cool as a journalist to not challenge power. And so when you invite these people into your office and are really buddy-buddy with them, I'm offended by that.
You're such a radical lefty. I love it.
I mean, it's true.
I think Obama and Biden are war criminals. Even other lefties
Abso-fucking-lutely.
everybody's like, even the lefties are like, what the fuck?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Who's
Drone
chick?
King, babe. Drone King.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of drone deaths.
But check
No
out A
doubt
Very
about
Heavy
that.
Agenda. My brother's documentary just goes over kind of a lot of stuff about Vice. But I think the problem that I have with Vice is just like the problem that I have with all other corporate media. Like we were saying, there's always a line that's uniform that basically promotes the U.S. empire and promotes American exceptionalism. So
Clearly, you've never
when
watched
you-
Fuck That's Delicious.
No, what is that?
It's the best show on Vice. And Wong's World, Eddie Wong's World. Those two. What's that?
And Action Bronson.
Action Bronson is Fuck That's Delicious. That's his show. You know who Action Bronson
No.
is, the rapper?
Oh, yeah. I haven't watched it.
Never had a human being come in the studio and smoke more weed. Never seen anybody smoke
He was
more
just
weed.
smoking weed
He
here?
just nonstop. We had an ashtray that we took photos
Yeah.
of it afterwards. Like, this is how much weed Action Bronson smoked while he was on the show. I just ran into him the other day at the UFC. He smoked like, how many joints? 10 joints? Easily. Big ass joints. Big fat boys. Just puffed him down to the nub. And we were Jamie and I were stunned. We're like, how does he keep going? That's on Vice too. So
No, Vice does have a lot of good shit.
got a
That's
lot
the
of good
problem. Is that when it comes to coverage of foreign policy, I think they really miss the boat.
Well, I
But
think
then they're good
too
on like.
big.
That's the thing. It's they'll accept. It's like anyone can kind of submit. It's kind of like Huffington Post. It's like a huge tent.
I think they have a hard time filtering everything out. I think they've gotten, they were this radical sort of like upstart where people hadn't heard of them before, and they were doing wild shit, and they had some really cool videos like the Guide to Travel, and they did that thing where they went to Liberia and
Yeah.
they met with General Butt Naked, and he's explaining about eating children and
That was
cutting their hearts.
insane.
Fucking insane. So that was all Shane. I mean, Shane did a lot of that stuff.
That
was
that's
the
all.
early days.
That's all great, but that's I appreciate that kind of style of journalism, but I feel like what's missing is the context behind it. Like, just Vice will go to like India and be like, "Fuck, this is fucking nuts," and you're like, "Well, why is there this massive disparity in
Right.
equality and stuff?" So it's a different style of journalism, but I do think that they really missed the boat on Venezuela, Russia, and Ukraine, and some other things when it comes to covering global conflicts because. That's just the problem with a lot of journalism and corporate media in general, is that you're towing a line because you're an American. Just like we were talking about Israelis. I mean, you have preconceived notions, you have your own bias, you have your own ethnocentric lens about world issues. So it bleeds over into those conflicts. And unless you're like an internationalist, can you see the world from a different lens? But when I was on the ground in Venezuela, I was like, this is not what we're seeing.
So what do you think is happening in Venezuela?
So there's a lot of things happening, but the thing that the U.S. government wants to obfuscate, and that's why you see Venezuela continues to come up all the time as another country that needs to be taken out and helped by U.S. interests, right? Because they haven't bowed down to U.S. economic hegemony. It's very simple.
So
Maduro has popular support. Maduro has a mass movement behind him. The Chavista movement is alive and well. And that's undeniable. It doesn't matter if you hate him or love him.
But what is the narrative? Like, what are we being told?
The narrative is that he's a totalitarian dictator who has seized all of power, and that there's zero democracy, and that everyone wants him gone, and that the protesters, he keeps mowing down and executing them whenever they come to the streets.
You're saying that's not true?
100% bullshit.
Huh.
I think you see the same thing. All these countries, you see the same thing, whether it be Cuba, Venezuela, Syria. I have a lot of questions about the Syria shit that we're seeing.
There's a lot of people that have questions about the Syria shit. And they don't believe the gas attacks. There's a lot of people that don't think that actually happened.
It makes no tactical sense for Assad to do that when he was winning the war and was taking back the remaining territory.
Isn't it also, didn't we let them know that we were going to bomb them? And I don't think anybody got killed, right?
We don't know. I mean, that's the thing, is there's multiple journalists who have gone to the site of the hospital, and there's very contradictory narratives. So we don't know until the chemical weapons inspectors go and do their investigation. But what I find odd is just the, again, uniformity with putting out these fucking narratives by the same people who sold us Iraq.
Do you remember when Obama wanted to bomb Syria and everybody's like, fuck you,
Yeah.
and then it just went away? Remember? He had the big press conference.
He staved off a lot, and unfortunately, the white helmets over there are kind of an arm of the U.S. government too. We've been funding them with $200 million on USAID. I mean, all of these groups on the ground. It's like whether you're Obama and you use more covert means through USAID and more like drone warfare, or you're the Trump, John Bolton type, where you're like, let's fucking preemptively bomb them and kill their families and torture their families. I mean, it's two sides of the same coin. It's the empire that's consistent and will maintain. But it's scary because Syria, it shows you how easy we're duped. I mean, during the Iraq War, it's like at least you had Colin Powell holding up the vial being like, here's the anthrax. Now it's just like you just have a social media video and we just fucking have Israel, our garrison in the Middle East, bomb Syria to test the waters, and then we just bomb them. And then you have asshole, like neoliberal think tankers all paraded around the media, all these generals, right? All these experts who are all literally Iraq war propagandists or generals or defense contractor CEOs. And they're all just like, Trump isn't doing enough. He needs to bomb more. This isn't sending enough of a message to Assad. It's like, when has bombing anyone ever done anything good? Tell me when the fucking U.S. has intervened that's actually turned out good. So don't sell this bullshit humanitarianism. It's just nuts that we just keep falling for it. And people are like, well, what are we supposed to do? Fucking don't do anything. Don't do anything. And I know that people are like, oh, isolationism is bad. Look, the U.S. empire is horrific and the largest threat to humanity. The world's biggest polluter, exempt from climate treaties, all the shit you never see on the mainstream media. Why? Because it's owned by oil corporations and defense contractors. That's why you see ads for Boeing and Raytheon. Like, we're not looking to buy a tank when we watch the news. That's just their overlords controlling the narrative. They know the limitations of the debate. They know the parameters and the framing that they're allowed to work within. They can't even talk about the U.S. as an empire, the world's biggest empire the world's ever seen.
Isn't it fascinating, the difference between what you hear from internet commentators who are free of networks and producers and executives that are telling them what to do, and sponsors, and the version that you're getting on television? The version that you're getting on television on CNN or on any of these major mainstream news networks, you're getting a very watered down, very homogenized and pasteurized narrative.
Absolutely. Because I think that's why I do the show, The Empire Files, and Media Roots Radio with my brother, Robbie Martin, at Fluorescent Gray on Twitter. But I do the show with my partner, Mike Preisner, because we want to retell these narratives that have been lost. History's always been written by the victors. All of the shit that we're seeing around the world needs to be analyzed within the lens of the U.S. being the largest empire that siphons all the fucking money in the world for military expenses. I mean, every issue, domestic and internationally.
Well, let me
it's
ask
all
you
shaped.
this. You're out there doing this. You're traveling to Palestine. You're traveling to Venezuela. You're doing all this stuff. You're writing all these things. You're doing all these videos. Does this ever get too much for you? Does this ever like overrun your brain? Does this ever freak you out that none of this is getting any better, and in fact, some of it's getting worse?
I mean, it is depressing to, like I was saying, I mean, just the discourse now where I'm called a Russian stooge, and I was like, look, I guess once a Putin puppet, always a Putin puppet. Doesn't matter if I left RT 3 years ago. I told you before.
Well, they were trying to fucking ship you off to Crimea.
Because, yeah.
Get your boots on the ground, young lady. Go check out the war zone.
And then the intelligence report that came out as the definitive proof of Russian hacking basically said my show that had ended 2 years prior was part of the reason why Trump won. So you have all this desperation to try to dilute the narrative and call everyone a Russian troll. But yeah, it's depressing as hell, Joe, because I feel like the sanity is fucking lost and I can't actually have conversations with people and talk about reality. Because either you're a Trump bootlicker who thinks everything's fake news and you think QAnon is gonna fucking expose the pedophiles across the country, or you think I'm a Russian troll because I'm saying something that goes against the grain. It's really disturbing. We're living in a really, really disturbing time.
I think there's too much information, too. I think that's part of the problem. I think part of the problem is the narrative gets so diluted.
It's toxified and
there's so much shit to think about. Because, there are pedophiles out there. I mean, whenever someone does get exposed and some pedophile ring gets broken up, you go, oh, that's real? Well, I didn't even think it was real because these people are so fucking stupid and some of the shit that they believe is so dumb. A lot of them are the same people that are chemtrail people or flat earth people. There's like so much of the same shit coming out of these people that when you find out that there is a group of people that are pedophiles that really have been involved in human trafficking or child slavery, which is a real thing. I mean, this is something that's almost like been talked about by so many wacky people that people don't believe it until you read like the story about Jimmy Savile. Is that how you say his name? The guy in England. You're like, wait a minute, what? How long did this go on for? Or Sandusky or any of these other. You go, oh my God, this is real.
Like the gymnast team.
Yes.
That guy. How many gymnasts were molested? Like 100?
More. I think it was more than 100.
Insane.
Right. This is modern times. This is real. Like, it's almost like when you hear about someone like that, you're like, that's not even possible. How could that happen? And then you go, wait a minute. Now he's in jail? No, it's true. And all these poor gymnasts are coming out and saying this guy was molesting me when I was 9 and 11. And it's fucked. But that stuff gets lost in the shuffle because there's so much noise. There's so much information, and there's too many things to pay attention. You're telling me about Venezuela. You're telling me about Palestine. Just those two things are bouncing back and forth in my head. And then, fuck, what about Stormy Daniels? Oh, and then there's another gal. There's another gal he paid off. Oh, Michael Cohen's pleading the fifth. Shit.
I know.
What's
How
going to
do you
happen?
even write jokes? Like, it's like just happening so quickly. I mean, I was also in Colombia on the front lines of the drug war that people should check out on the Empire Files too, and that shit's nuts too.
Do you know what I saw that was great?
What?
That fucking Tom Cruise movie. That American Made in America, whatever it is. American Made. The movie about Barry Seals, who's a CIA drug runner.
Wait, is this older?
No.
It just happened like a year ago.
No, I did not hear about this.
Barry Seals is the guy who was dropping off the drugs that they would get from the Colombian cartel, and he would drop them off in Mena, Arkansas. Do you know that story? It's a fascinating story. It was exposed because 2 kids were there when the drugs got dropped off, and they were murdered, and their bodies were put on train tracks. The trains ran over their bodies. The cops said these kids were high, and they fell asleep on the train tracks. Their parents did an independent autopsy, found out that there's stab wounds in the kids. So then the parents brought this information to light. Everything unfolds. They find out that there's this gigantic drug ring that was supported by Bill Clinton. This is a big part of the movie, was that this Barry Seal guy gets arrested with millions of dollars in cash and coke, and Bill Clinton calls up the prosecutor and makes him walk. That's real. That really did happen. This was all in Mena, Arkansas, when Bill Clinton was the governor of Arkansas, then goes on to be the president. But this guy was bringing in drugs from Colombia and from South America at the behest of the CIA, and it's a big part of the film. Now, how much of the film is bullshit and how much of it is real, we don't know.
Well, I can tell you, at the border of Colombia, I fucking walked across. There's like not. I mean, it is ridiculous how open that shit
How
is.
porous.
Very
Yeah.
porous. The border is very.
I'm
porous.
sure, but now Colombia's a different animal. I mean, I'm sure they're still growing coke there, but it's not what it used to be. I mean, they,
Right, 'cause the
Bogota
Civil
used to be
War,
like
yeah.
very, very dangerous, and now it's not at all.
Yeah, the Civil War recently ended, and FARC is now demilitarized.
Did you watch Narcos? Did you
No,
watch
should
Narcos?
I? Is it good?
Fuck
Really?
yeah. It's fucking amazing. The guy who plays
Dang.
Escobar is a fucking
I
saint.
love Emily. Wait, what's her name? Emily, the woman in it. She's awesome.
I don't know
Anyway,
what-
yeah,
what her
no,
name-
I,
whatever, she's
I
awesome
definitely
too.
should check
Everybody's
it out.
awesome.
Yeah,
It's fucking great. I mean, it is really good.
nice.
Oh, it's one of those shows where you're like, at the end of it, you're like, ah! Like in season 2, my wife shut it off. She's like, I can't do this. I can't
Really?
do this anymore. Too many people are dying. Like,
You
but
should
this
watch-
is what really happened.
Watch Waco too. It's
Oh, I'm scared.
dude. It's amazing because everyone remembers Waco vaguely, but wow. You really need to watch it because it retells the story from one of the victims' eyes, and damn,
They
what we
killed
did to
those fucking people. They
massacred
When you see
them.
those tanks blowing fire into the building,
Yeah.
and they were trying to say that
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
happen,
yeah.
there's fucking video of it.
Right.
You can watch the video of the tank lighting these buildings on fire while people are inside of them.
Mm-hmm.
They were driving over the houses while the people were inside of them.
That's when the militia movement posed a threat to the government, and now they've just become. Isn't it weird the evolution? How now militia people are like pro-Trump. It's
Sort
fucking
of
weird.
but not the guys up in Oregon that were trying to mooch off public land to run their cattle.
Who knows? They might be pro-Trump. Trump just sold off the last national parks, Grand Staircase, opened it up for oil and gas drilling. They probably like that shit, man.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Like, I've heard very different versions of that from Zinke, when that guy's, what is he, Secretary of the Interior? What is Zinke? Yeah. When he was talking about it, he was explaining that's not what happened, and that it essentially went right back to where the way it was before Obama changed the legislation, changed the rules.
All I know is
I don't
that
understand.
it was protected under Obama for a good reason.
Yeah.
There's dinosaur fossils there. Native Americans have monuments there. But of course, we don't care about Native American monuments. We just care about Confederate monuments. We don't care about abolishing all the Native American land and all the treaties. We just care about protecting bizarre Confederate statues around the country. I
don't think we should protect Confederate statues in the sense that I don't think they should be in, like, the middle of fucking town squares and shit
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. But they should do something with them, the same way they should do something with Genghis Khan statues.
Throw them
To
in a
just,
museum, yeah.
Do you know that most of those things were made during the Jim Crow era?
That's
when
a really
most
good
of those
point.
were constructed.
That's an
Yeah.
amazing point. A lot of
Yeah.
people think that it was right after the Civil War, and in
No.
fact, it was like in the 60s.
It was during the Civil Rights Movement.
Yeah.
There was a protest to the Civil Rights
Yeah.
Movement. Oh, yeah, well, look what we're going to do here.
Yeah.
We'll put it
You
here
want
right in the middle of
rights?
town square.
You want rights? You
And
want to
they're
drink out of our
shitty.
water fountain? Well, here's a statue.
And they're shitty statues too. A lot of them like really poorly constructed.
That's
They made them
disgusting.
quickly. Yeah, it was a protest to the Civil Rights
That's
Movement.
crazy.
A lot of them. Yeah,
That's crazy.
But the thing is, like, they are a representation of history, just like a Genghis Khan statue would be a representation of that monster. I mean, we think of Genghis Khan as a guy who opened up trade with China today. You vaguely understand that he was responsible for the death of 10% of the population of the world back then. Changed the fucking... New York Times had an article about how he changed the carbon footprint of the earth. There's literally a difference in the carbon footprint because 10% less people were alive during Genghis Khan's reign. Because
Damn.
they killed everybody. They
Damn.
fucking were killing millions of people. There's a great Dan Carlin series on it called The Wrath of the Khans, but I've talked about it way too much. But today, Genghis Khan's not offensive. Like, you could bring up Genghis
Right.
Khan, nobody cares. I mean, he's way more horrific than anything that happened during the Civil War. They had slaves, and they did everything. They would capture people and use them as the front lines. They would push them towards their own people, so they would get shot. They would be the first people to get shot with arrows. I mean, there's some horrific shit, but I
think
don't
the
think we should
Confederates-
melt Genghis Khan statues.
I think the Confederacy is just so much more recent in
yeah.
people's minds that they're
We
like...
should do something
yeah.
with it, though. I mean, I don't think it should be in town square, for sure.
Yeah.
In anybody's town square.
Yeah.
But I think they should do something with them instead of melting them or smashing them. They should put them somewhere, at least for the future. At least for future people to, like, look back. Like, look, this is how fucking wacky people were. In the 1960s, they constructed these homages to the 1800s when slavery was legal. They constructed these statues to sort of paint these people in this heroic fashion that were fighting to keep black people slaves. That's part of the thing. This is all right there. It's part of the history of this country. We got to put it somewhere. I mean, I'm not saying it should be worshipped. Definitely shouldn't be prominently featured. So
Yeah, put it
some
in a
black
Confederate
kid has to
museum.
feel terrible.
Yeah, put it in a Confederate
there
museum.
should be something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it should be like detailed description of
Yeah.
when it was constructed and why it was constructed.
Exactly.
Who made it? What was the
Right.
political affiliation of the people that created it?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Stop this whitewashing bullshit. Like
Yeah.
every time MLK Day comes around, I'm always just like, did you know MLK was like a rabid anti-militarist and anti-imperialist? No, because he was the most hated black man in America.
Yeah,
at the
someone
time.
said, did you know that he used to fuck all these white women? Like, who doesn't like fucking white women?
Who gives a
It's a lot of
fuck what he
fun.
did in his personal
Probably had a good
life?
time. That's going to be the bad thing. Oh, well, you just turned it around for me.
Oh,
Fuck
you know
him
what?
now.
Fuck MLK.
That I have a
Let's
dream
abolish
speech could
MLK
suck my
Day.
ass. Yeah, it's so strange what people, how they turn on things.
What do
they
you think
decide to
about
like.
this whole like dueling narrative though about Trump? Like how he's somehow absolved from all of his wrongdoings, or he's a Russian plant. Like, are you having trouble talking to people about that?
Well,
or what do you think?
Well, I think the good thing about him, this is the good thing, is that we realize now how easy it is for a person to win the popularity contest that is the presidency of the United States. And that you could get a popular person, whether it's Trump or whether it's Oprah or whoever the fuck it is that decides to win next. And this is a ridiculous way to pick the person who runs the biggest fucking military complex the world has ever known. I mean, the greatest army the world has ever known by far is the United States military. The commander-in-chief is now the guy who was the host of The Apprentice that was famous for saying, "You're fired! You're fired!" I mean, this is a popularity contest.
Yeah.
It's insane. You don't have to have special qualifications. You just have to be deemed the person that people like the most.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's also insane to have one giant alpha chimp to be the top guy or the top gal to run the whole project. And I saw that with Hillary too. There were so many people that were looking for Hillary to win because they wanted a woman to win, because they thought it would be a historic victory, regardless of how fucking creepy she is, regardless of all the crazy shit that she's done, regardless of her history, regardless of all the fucking way that they hacked the DNC and they literally conspired to keep Bernie Sanders from winning the nomination.
Yeah.
I mean, they hacked the democracy. They did it, not the Russians. And everybody's like, yeah. It didn't work.
Yeah,
It didn't work. It doesn't even count.
Yeah, screw voter ID, voter suppression, all that shit, gerrymandering, all
Wanted
that.
a woman so bad that they were
Then
willing
they can
to
go
like,
back to sleep.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a gay person next. You know, the black
Ooh,
person,
how about
the
a trans
woman,
person?
or trans person.
Trans person.
I mean, honestly, and that's the problem. I think that's the conflation with like the left and the neoliberal think tankers, is that they use identity politics to sell more corporatism.
Yeah.
Like they use it to brand slap pink shit on Boeing jets and be like, Happy Women's Day,
Right,
you know. I mean,
right.
but it's not like they actually care about oppressed and marginalized people. So it's really interesting.
We're in an infancy, the infancy of understanding. We really are. I mean,
3 people ago.
3 people ago, yeah. And it's like 3 people from now, we're like, these fucking apes were crazy. You know? I really do think that.
They got the Apprentice guy.
Yeah, I think we're in the middle of it. You know, whether it's the Apprentice guy, I mean, if he didn't win, what would you want? Fucking Ted Cruz to win? Get the fuck out of here. That guy's
God,
out of his
man.
mind, too. And now all he's doing is sucking Trump's ass. You see all those speeches about him?
Dude.
Crazy.
Trump calls his wife a dog.
Yeah.
Says his dad killed JFK, and Trump
Yes.
and Ted Cruz is like, you know what? I really like him now.
Yeah, Lion
I
Ted.
just really like him.
I love how he calls people a name, like,
like,
Crazy
dude,
Hillary,
fucking
Lion
desperate.
Ted. He gives people names. But there's a lot of things that he does that I wish he wasn't the president. I wish I could just laugh at some of the things he does and I wouldn't feel bad about it.
Right.
You know, because he's a fucking loon. I mean, he's a crazy old rich dude. He does a bunch of wacky shit that I find to be incredibly entertaining. If he wasn't the leader of the free world.
If he wasn't in fucking power. I mean, I
don't think he wants to be there either.
If Trump, well, Paul Ryan sure didn't want to be there anymore. He probably got some sweet ass deal with some big pharma lobby or something.
He's probably realizing like the writing's on the wall for him. Like he's like, oh, I see what happens if you're president.
He's like,
fuck
ooh.
this.
Yeah.
I'm catching radiation
He's like,
sickness just from
got
being
a
on the outside.
$5 million check waiting for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fishing.
But I think the Democrats are so stupid, Joe, that you even saw their slogan come up for 2018. It literally said, look at the other guy. That was that's their genius
thing?
slogan.
Look at the other
They're
guy.
going to do the same thing. They're going to do the same thing. Trump is going to win again. Guaranteed.
Do you think so?
I guarantee you. Unless they really let Bernie Sanders take the reins. And I just feel like they're too threatened by his economic policies that they're not going to.
By the time Bernie wins, his head will be right where his nipples are. His head just keeps sinking further and further down his chest.
He keeps getting more.
Everybody, I guarantee you all a job. That's his latest one. He wants to guarantee a job. Who's going to make these jobs, Bernie? You fuck. You don't know shit.
But look at
you
how,
can't say that. You can't say you're going to guarantee a job because who's going to make the jobs? You're just going to make up jobs? What are you going to do? Where are you going to get that money? You're going to take it from me and give it to people because you give them a fake job?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? How can you say I'm going to guarantee every American a job? That is a fucking insane thing to say.
Has he said how?
No, because here's the thing. What if you just like, I'm on a job, and you just you don't want to do shit. You're lazy. You're a fuck up. Well, I guaranteed everyone a job, so you get a job too. But I got fired. You guaranteed me a job. Here's another job. I don't want to be a liar. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to give everyone a job? It's literally not possible. That's a fucking insane thing to say. I guarantee a job for everybody.
You know what's not insane, though? Saying the other shit that he says. I mean, he's been out on the floor. You have to give him credit for the last 30 years, whether it be Gulf War syndrome, like GMOs. I mean, he's out there fighting for
He's an
people.
Important radical.
Yeah.
Like, it's important to have people. You have to have, like, both sides. You have to have radical right, radical left, and let's meet all somewhere in the middle, you know?
But if you look at, like, Europe and other countries, he is considered probably center.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
you look at Jeremy Corbyn, he is, like, he's Bernie Sanders on steroids, where he's...
Where's he?
He's in Britain.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and
well,
he's called a
Britain's
Russian
going through their own
stooge
shit,
too.
right?
Yeah, dude. But what's crazy about the Hillary sycophants is like you see Neera Tanden and all these assholes who worked for Hillary Clinton's campaign on the fucking eve of Trump bombing Syria. They're like, "Thanks, Susan Sarandon. Thanks a lot. Great job." It's like, oh, I'm sorry, Susan Sarandon made Trump bomb Syria? You dickwads.
Susan Sarandon did it.
Thanks.
Blame her.
And it's also like Hillary would have been bombing Syria very quickly.
Yeah,
she called for a no-fly zone.
Everybody she's got a big dick. I mean, do you remember that? I mean, everybody quickly forgets that Gaddafi shit. You know, when she was laughing in that interview? Laughing. We came, we saw, he died. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Yeah.
What person laughs like that when someone gets killed? Even if Bill Cosby, if some woman who Bill Cosby raped showed up outside the courtroom and he was walking down the stairs and she ran up, Lee Harvey Oswald, Jack Ruby style, and shot him right in the chest, I wouldn't laugh. I'd be like, whoa, that's fucking crazy. But I wouldn't be like, she came, she saw, he died. Where's your pills now, faggot? You know, I wouldn't say that. I would be freaking out. I'd be like, wow, that guy just lost his, like, what a crazy life that guy had. That guy's life was like this magical ride of celebrity until he got busted raping people. And then the last years of his life were in a hellacious state of being accused of something and probably only got a fraction of what he was actually what he actually did. I mean, how many women out there know that they were raped by him and just said nothing because they don't want to be a part of it, the big public circus.
And how many victims are there already?
Fuck, it's at least 50. It's at least 50. Yeah.
That's insane. I mean, other than Weinstein, is there anyone else that's that much of a serial rapist?
See, but the Weinstein thing was like he was forcing them to have sex with him in order to give them roles.
Right.
He wasn't drugging them. It's just as creepy in a way, but it's not quite the same thing because Bill Cosby was almost like a monster.
Right.
Like he would like lure you in.
Who knows
like,
what the fuck he did to you while you were passed out for a day in his house.
Yeah, but he's also what he posed at. Like Weinstein was this fat, gross guy.
Looked like Shrek personified.
Everybody
into a
knew
human.
who he was. Everybody knew. Stay the fuck away from him. Don't go up to his room.
He's a monster.
Yeah, that was the whole thing with that guy. But what Bill Cosby was with this moral voice of Black America.
Pick your pants up.
Yeah, don't you have those sagging jeans? Using all those bad words. Do you remember what we were talking about before? Do you remember the Eddie Murphy thing where he called up? Eddie Murphy had it in his movie Raw, right? It was in Raw or Delirious. Might have been Delirious.
Delirious was so
good,
fucking
so
good.
But
man,
he had to call up Richard Pryor. He called up Richard Pryor. See if you can find that. See if you can find that online. Eddie Murphy on Bill Cosby because
Richard Pryor talked shit to Bill Cosby about that, right?
Yeah, because Bill Cosby wasn't half the fucking comedian that Richard Pryor was, and I'm sure that bothered him. Here, play this.
Look at his outfit, damn.
a bit of Bill Cosby
Holy
fan.
shit,
Oh
he
my
has a
God.
good outfit on.
Yeah.
And chastised me on the phone for being too dirty on stage. And it was real weird because I had never met him. And he just thought he should call me up because he was Bill and tell me that he did about what comedy is all about. And I sat and listened to this man chastise me. And when Bill Cosby chastised you, you forget you grown. You feel like one of the Cosby kids and shit. I ran in the house all excited to talk to Bill and picked up the telephone and Bill got raw on me. I was like, hello, Mr. Cosby? And you hear, I would like to talk to you about some of the things that you do in your show.
Oh my God. Forget how good Eddie Murphy was.
Oh my God.
Now, I'm going to tell you a story. I would like to tell you a story. I have 5 children. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children. I live in Massachusetts with my wife Camille and my 5 children. Now, of the 5 children that we have, there are 4 girls and a boy. The boy's name is Innes. He loves everything you do. Comes home from school the other day with a big smile on his face. And my son looks just like me. He walks through the door looking at me with this big smile. And I cannot resist. Because it's such a beautiful smile. And he walks up and I say, what are you smiling about? Aww. And the child says to me, I'm smiling because I need money to go see the Eddie Murphy show. Please give me money for a ticket. Now, if the child is smiling this way because he needs money for a ticket, I have to give him money for a ticket. I do not handle the money in the house. My wife, Camille, handles the ticket money. So I must go
Is he
into
wearing like
the
a big
kitchen
cool
to where
scarf?
my
Yeah.
wife is
Awesome.
cooking dinner for the family.
What is he
And
wearing? He's
she
wearing
is in
motorcycle
Like that
gloves.
in the 80s? It's so
Only
dope,
him.
dude. God, I miss that.
Anyway, it is a long bit. It's like 6
I need to
minutes and
watch
50
that.
seconds.
It's so
It's great.
hilarious,
But
man.
basically, he calls up Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
And he goes, Richard Pryor said, do the people laugh? Do you get paid? Well, tell Bill to have a Coke and a smile and shut the fuck up. But that was real.
Take a
Bill
Quaalude
Cosby
and
really
suck
did.
it.
Really did call him up. Meanwhile, while Eddie Murphy was doing that, you got to realize this is the 80s, right? So while Eddie Murphy was doing that sketch, Bill Cosby very likely was probably raping somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
It's entirely
He's
possible.
probably raping him as he was on stage.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah.
You got some
I
notes
just
there?
I just saw Whoopi Goldberg do stand up. Have you seen her recently?
No.
It was really interesting. I mean, going back to the
Where'd
whole
you see
talking
her?
about her pussy.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. I thought she was going to talk about Trump or some shit, and she came out talking about her vagina's so dry that she has sand coming out of it. And then I saw her in Vegas. It was really.
Was it good?
It was interesting to see.
is
It was interesting to see Whoopi Goldberg be like extremely fucking dirty, but it was
were
also
people laughing?
yeah, uncomfortably in a lot of places. But then she opened it up to Q&A, which I thought was weird.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did she do that? Did she have a line of people, or did she just have?
She was just
randomly
like, and you know
people?
what? Now I'm gonna open it up. She was like, ask me anything, and I was like, I
Oh.
don't know what the fuck. Like, what
To
are people
ask
gonna
you.
ask you? People were
Yeah.
like, how was Ghost?
What's it like working with those cunts on The View?
How do you not murder Meghan McCain when you're sitting next to her?
Well,
No,
who was
just
the
joking.
one that she used to always get in a
Elizabeth
fight with?
Hasselbeck,
Yes.
yeah.
Whatever happened to that gal?
Got replaced by John McCain's daughter, I guess. How the
Right.
hell is John McCain still alive? He's had brain cancer for like a year.
He's just gonna get some more surgery. He's got some new surgery, like gut surgery
There's a
coming
plant
on.
in his brain.
He's got something going on in his gut. He's gonna have to get intestinal
Really?
surgery. Yeah, serious shit. What that Elizabeth Hasselbeck chick? She was like the original Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
Like the original hot blonde mean lady. You know, the hot blonde mean conservative
Yep.
lady.
That would shut your ass down.
There's a fucking market for those.
Oh, yeah.
Hot blonde mean conservative ladies. A tough market. It's
Yep.
a good market.
Yep.
You know. People
Again,
love that.
filling that vacuum. The Tommy Lawrence.
Yes, they love it. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
How weird is it that Megyn Kelly's just now this like weird talk show host, just a normal like an Ellen? She's like trying to rebrand herself as an Ellen. It's like you cannot
Every
go
now
from
and
like
then,
a
though.
Fox News mouthpiece frothing at the mouth about all the shit to just being like, hey, let's talk about your relationship problems. It's just an odd switch.
Yeah, but
I don't buy it.
the fangs come out every
they?
now and then. Yeah, the Jane Fonda shit. You know what the Jane Fonda
No.
shit? She asked Jane Fonda about plastic surgery. And Jane Fonda was like, what?
Yeah,
it's like, what the fuck are you asking me about plastic surgery?
Right.
I'm here to promote a movie.
Right.
I only have 3 minutes.
She's like, bitch, I look good.
Yeah, but it's
Fucking
like,
accept it.
she's talked about having plastic surgery. So what?
Right.
I mean, why?
That's
but
weird.
This is not organic, right?
Yeah.
These shows are not organic. It's not a podcast. I'm just sitting down talking.
Yeah,
She wants to get some sound bite. And this is probably like part of the agenda. So Jane Fonda shut her down and started talking about the movie again and then talked about her. And so then later on,
She looks damn good.
she's not bad for 150,000 years old. So and then later on, Megyn Kelly started talking shit about Jane Fonda on the air,
That's
saying
insane.
about how people used to call her Hanoi Jane. She went back to that. But you could see the fangs come out. You could see that.
Remember when she said she alluded to the fact that Trump poisoned her the morning of the debate? I think we talked about that.
What?
Yeah, well, she got coffee from some weird driver the morning of the debate, and we already know that crazy shit was happening between her and Trump. And she said she got violently ill. She was trying to tell him, I don't drink coffee. And then he was like, no, drink it. It's good. She drank the coffee, got violently ill, and had to sit next to a puke bucket, almost thinking that she would have to cancel the debate. Basically alluding to the fact that Trump might have poisoned her that day.
Come on.
I swear on, I don't know.
I have never taken
Swear.
coffee from some strange dude
Right.
that forced me to drink coffee.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not as famous as
She's
Megyn Kelly.
recanted it after he got elected, maybe out of fear. Maybe she was like, oh, shit. If he really did do this, then
A lot of people shit their pants once he got elected. You know?
Scorched earth. I mean, a lot. He made a lot of enemies, and a lot of people made enemies with him.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with all these criminal charges and what's going to happen with Cohen and all these other people, the Mueller investigation. It's so strange because it's all just, we're waiting for something to be highly illegal and obvious, and it's not yet. So I'm like, where's the thing? And when the thing comes out and people start going down, they start going to jail. Well, who's going to rat him out? What's going to happen? Who's going to
He's going to pardon him. I mean, that's
who's
the
gonna
thing
get
is that
Putin?
to impeach him, you have to have a consensus in the Republican majority Congress. So I don't understand how that's going to happen unless he perjures himself, right? The perjury trap like Bill Clinton, unless he says some shit on the stand. But I think that he's smart enough to just say yes, no, I don't know. Hopefully,
Well, people
or
are
not.
saying-
Hopefully, I want him to be fucking impeached. I fucking hate that guy.
People were saying that Trump supporters,
Pence, too, but-
Republican Trump supporters are the ones that okayed the Mueller raid on Cohen's office. Right?
What do you mean? I missed that.
The people that raided Mueller's office, right? That Trump supporters, Republicans, had to give the green light.
Oh,
Everyone in the chain was Republican.
Yeah.
The judge was appointed by Trump, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm.
So this is like there must have been overwhelming evidence. The crazy thing about this is it's almost like Game of Thrones. Like it's playing out so slow and delicious.
I know, yeah. It's like a year and a half in. You're like, where's the proof?
It's strange.
Where is it?
It just keeps building, and people keep getting indicted, and people keep getting pulled in, and Cohen just pleaded the fifth, right? Is that what
I
happened?
hope that little pussy Kushner gets indicted for something, man. Have you heard the one speech he gave, and you've never heard from him again because his voice sounds like a little mouse, like
I've never heard him
Rasputin.
talk.
There's a good reason for that because he talks like this. He's like, hey, Jared Kushner.
He reminds me of American Psycho.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally, dude.
It just is
methodical,
there's a look
like
in his
pretty
face.
boy,
Yeah.
J. Crew, fucking. Oh God, he's such a disgusting. Look at him.
there. Let me hear.
President Donald J. Trump.
Isn't that weird?
When my father-in-law decided to run for president,
almost like I'm dubbing
I served
him.
his campaign the best I could because I believe in him and his ability to
Pause.
improve the lives
Did he reach puberty yet?
How does Donald let that guy fuck his daughter? Because his daughter's so
Exactly.
hot.
And he wants to fuck her, right? So it's like, how are you letting
Ooh, it's
him,
weird.
this guy, fuck her?
He only lets him fuck her. Only if I'm in the room. They do it right. Praise her. Touch her feet.
I did not collude with Russia. He's like, I did not collude with Russia.
Play more of that. I want to hear his voice. It's fascinating.
all Americans. And now, serving the president and the people of the United States has been the honor and privilege of a lifetime.
Oh my God.
I am so grateful
I
for
believe
the
him.
opportunity
I'm so grateful.
I'm
to
sold.
work on important matters
You know what? I actually like him
such
now.
as Middle East peace
Hold up.
and
That guy's a man of character. She's got a strong will. I bet that motherfucker
Have
never
him
quits
solve Middle
at
Eastern,
anything.
the Middle East conflict. Remember
Yeah.
when he was like, you know what, Jared Kushner is actually going to solve the peace between Israelis and Palestinians. I was
would
like,
like-
oh, really? Interesting.
I would like to see that guy hike with a heavy backpack. See how long before he starts crying. I bet he's got about 14 minutes in him.
I want to see him even. Can you imagine him doing anything strenuous at all? His hands are probably like silk.
They probably do this thing where they
Like
they
what,
pinch,
paraffin wax?
like little tiny hands.
He puts his hands in paraffin wax every night and just lets them sit.
You know he gets manicures for sure.
Oh, good God!
Strange.
Look at his face.
Strange character.
Probably gets a little facial every day.
But that's his wife. His wife is hot. Like Donald's daughter is fucking
She's got a lot
smoking
of-
hot.
yeah.
She got a lot of work done. Is that what you're gonna
Yeah.
say? Really?
But I mean, whatever.
Did she?
I'm not against getting work done. Yeah, I've seen
South
photos
Korea
of her.
style.
I don't know about that. That's like weird shit.
That's like changing your ethnicity.
Yeah, that's nuts. But yeah, Jared Kushner's nuts. All these people are, man.
They have a kid, right?
Oh, they have a bunch. I think they just had their third child.
He's in there hammering it.
Yeah, somehow.
Look there. Look, she's
Look at
fucking
her.
smoking hot. Where you go? What do you? Hey.
If I were Trump, I'd want to fuck her too.
Woo!
Just kidding.
Imagine.
No, it's interesting too. Like Stormy Daniels and the other woman who said, that she had an affair with Trump. She said that both of them said that Trump told her, "You remind me of my daughter Ivanka. You're beautiful and smart." And then they had sex.
Holla.
Holla to playa.
Well, you can't bang your kid, but you can bang someone who looks like him.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Remember when Ted Cruz liked a porn tweet?
Did he?
Yeah.
Are you sure he did that, or someone in his staff
I
do
think
that?
it was fucking him because the woman in the porn video looked exactly like his wife.
Oh Jesus, Louises! What presidential candidate is ever going to come out and say, "I love porn. It's great. I can masturbate and then be done with it, and I don't have to have sex with anybody."
Yeah,
it's great.
Why not? I mean, well, Obama admitted that he almost shot up heroin. It's like, why couldn't Trump have just said, "Yeah, I banged a porn star. Who cares?"
Did he say he almost shot up heroin?
He said the needle was like, he said that he was almost going to do it, and he was sitting there, and
That's heavy.
Yeah. But like, why did Trump go through this whole NDA nonsense knowing that it could bite him in the ass?
Because he probably
Is he
didn't
that
think it was going
dumb?
to bite him in the ass. Yeah, he probably thought that Michael Cohen had it locked down, and then they'd paid people off in the past, I guess, and probably no one cared until he became president.
Right,
And
right.
Once you're president,
And they're like, oh,
the scrutiny
shit.
is just so overwhelming. I mean, it's not just a scrutiny from the American media; it's a scrutiny all across the world.
Right.
I mean, everybody's paying attention to everything you've ever done ever, and with him, honestly, the thing that scares me is not that. The thing that scares me is all the business deals. What's crazy is how many small business owners went under because Trump had these relationships, apparently, allegedly, whatever I have to say, with, they would do these construction jobs and small contractors would just not get paid. And they would have to sue and they would wind up going under. They couldn't compete with them. And this is something that Joey Diaz talked about on the podcast, that he knew people that were involved in construction companies that went under because Trump fucked them over.
Wow.
This is like a standard thing that he would do back then, not pay people.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, he had a reputation. Google, Trump had a reputation for not paying contractors, construction contractors. It was a real issue, and it's an issue of character and morals and ethics that is, to me, way more important than who he decides to have sex. Hundreds allege Donald Trump doesn't pay his bills.
Oh God, look, and it's all just workers,
Among those who
dishwashers,
say billionaire
painters.
didn't pay, dishwashers, painters, waiters, yeah,
The lowly
I don't know.
minions.
And then how much of that is he doesn't really pay because someone else pays for him, and it got lost in the shuffle, and
We know Kushner's a giant slumlord too. Yeah, I mean,
Is he?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean,
He looks like a slumlord.
Yeah, they're all
Imagine
criminals. I mean,
you gotta
God,
go to that guy
can you
and tell
imagine
him?
being Trump, having as much money and property as you do, and not having any criminal activity? I mean, how the hell you can't be that fucking
Be
in
hard.
that position of
You'd
power,
have to
man.
know a few crooks, and just the amount of money that's involved. Like, how the fuck can you pay attention to all that? Like, you'd have to have someone, like, to think that he's responsible for all that is also naive, honestly, because if you really look at the amount of properties that Trump owns, and to think that he's paying attention to all that and the management of all that and the paying of the contractors and all that, but it probably trickles down from the top, right? Like
Right.
the kind of ethics that would be involved in not paying off contractors.
That's why the whole Russia thing just kills me because, like we were saying, it's been a year and a half. There's been no smoking gun. It's just a whole bunch of little things like, Russian trolls online.
Right.
This, that, the DNI report, which I was in. But no one's talking about the fact that he obviously has ties with Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Israel, there's collusion with all these countries. Why just stop at Russia.
Well, did you see what he said today? He said that Comey lied and that he did stay the night in Russia. Comey lied in his memo. That's what he's saying now.
I did not catch that.
This is the latest.
Ooh.
So something happened. Whether he's realized that they found his flight records and they realized that the jet was in Russia for more than 24 hours. So then he said, Comey lied. I never said I didn't stay the night in Russia. So it's like, ooh, this is a strange move here.
Yeah.
Because this is either check or checkmate. Like, this is a sneaky one. Like, what happens here? Because if Comey lied, the whole thing's fucked. If Comey really did lie or made a mistake, the whole thing's fucked.
Wow.
And if Trump lied and Comey somehow or another has some recording or something of it, I don't know if that's the case. It's all so juicy.
I just don't think that, the Russia collusion thing, it's like, where is the smoking gun? Where is it? I mean, all we see are this Hamilton 68 dashboard that's literally run by the Chertoff group. Michael Chertoff was Bush's DHS
What's a
chief.
Hamilton 68 dashboard?
It's the think tank that you see unquestioningly repeated in every single article about Russian trolls, where it's like, Russian trolls are spreading NRA shit online to try to foment discontent in this country, or Russian trolls are promoting Bernie Sanders, or Russian trolls are promoting Jill Stein. When you look at the actual methodology of how they determine who's a Russian bot and who's a Russian troll, it all comes from this think tank run by literally Iraq war propagandists, Bill Kristol and Michael Chertoff. So that's what I'm saying. These narratives are it's so obscure to find out who's really managing the narratives, but it really is all the same people where they're conning us again. They're conning us. Because the end goal of the empire is basically Russia, China, Iran. Iran and Syria are the stepping stones basically ultimately to China and Russia. And those are the biggest competitors with the empire. And so they want to just foment that hot war with Russia.
You know what I've been going down a rabbit hole with?
Yeah.
Chinese electronics. Huawei got banned from AT&T and Verizon and all these other. Huawei is the number 3 phone manufacturer in the world, and they also manufacture network equipment. And there's it seems to me like, and this is my conspiratorial mind, and I'm just going to say right away, I'm a moron and I know very little about this. But
Let it loose.
But this is what's fascinating. Huawei makes some really good cell phones, like beautiful 40 megapixel camera, excellent design, gorgeous screen, and they were about to be launched in America under AT&T, and then the State Department warned against people buying Huawei phones, saying they're spy devices, and told people to not buy Huawei phones. So then they're bringing up charges against Huawei for something to do with Iran. So, and then there was an article today, this is where it gets really weird, the compliance of the media. There was an article today about the drop in sales of Chinese cell phones. As Chinese cell phone sales plummet by 21%. I was reading today. But what is happening here? Like, they were saying that there was some networking equipment that was made by Huawei that was sending a certain amount of data that didn't seem right. And they believed that something was encoded in their software or in their hardware that allowed them to hack into it and extract data and use this as a spying device. So then they were saying that this is the case with the phones, and we shouldn't buy these Huawei phones. But then the Android people, like I sent Jamie a couple articles on it because I was fascinated by this. I read like 30 articles about it in the last week and a half. And these real smart tech people were like, this is horseshit. First of all, if these devices did have something in them other than stock Android or Android with whatever their operating system is that they put on over it, like their skin, you would see it. These guys would be able to see it. They'd be able to find it. They're not any more sophisticated than these people.
It's like a
there's something going on. There's something going on. There's some weirdness to it all. It's like they might be trying to tank these companies. They might be like, there might be a concerted effort. And then the thought was that maybe perhaps there's some sort of a deal with Samsung and iPhones, which are the 2 top manufacturers to keep out this third party, which makes these really high-end cell phones. Like the Huawei has this Porsche design Mate Pro RS. It's $2,000. It's like the most expensive cell phone you can buy. This thing's off the charts. Awesome. I mean, it takes like nighttime a photo. It turns it into like almost daylight.
Whoa.
Like crazy 40 megapixel, like adjustable aperture, like as good as it gets in terms of like modern day cell phones. They're saying don't buy it. Don't buy it. It's a spy device. But the tech guys are going, you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
They're like, if you shouldn't buy it because they don't update them very well.
Well,
like,
aren't
they're not
all
good
cell
at
phones
that.
spy devices? I mean, why?
Sure.
So
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, fuck it. I talk about something and I don't type it in. I don't write a message. I don't write an email, and I'll see an ad. So it's spying on us all the time. That doesn't happen to you?
It hasn't happened to me, but it's happened to enough people that I believe you.
It's insane.
Well, I believe you no matter what.
It's really
But
crazy.
I've talked to so many people that have had that happen. Somebody sent me a tweet yesterday that said they were listening to a podcast that we were doing. We were talking about something, and then that something appeared in their Google ads.
Exactly.
And he's like, I never looked up this. And oh no, it wasn't a Google ad. It was a YouTube search. It was a YouTube suggested. He's like, my fucking computer's listening.
Yep.
Dun, dun,
Computer
dun.
and what app is doing this? I mean, I'm about to just go to a flip phone because I don't want to. It's bullshit.
We know the YouTube's audio is being listened to because they're mining it for ad stuff already. It's not even that's not a spy thing. That's just out there. That's how they do it.
Right, but is that if you're playing things?
Yeah.
So when we're playing, so if he's playing a podcast on YouTube, YouTube's listening to that, and that's how they suggest
it's just
the
happening
next
in
ads.
there. What I think might be happening, which people are noticing now, is not just that it's happening within the software. It's that your actual device, the microphone is on, and the laptop camera is on. So people have blocked the camera with tape,
But then
they're not blocking the microphone.
Yeah, exactly. How the hell do you block the microphone?
You don't even know where it is.
Can we have like some sort of tutorial about like how we can prevent all of our shit from being collected? Like that whole the Facebook Cambridge Analytica thing. I feel like everyone missed the boat of what that story was. You heard about that, right?
Yes.
The Cambridge Analytica,
Yes.
they're data mining all your shit. It's like, yeah, if you're on Facebook, everything's being taken and data mined. That's very obvious. But what wasn't really investigated, I think Channel 4 did this crazy investigation where they pretended like they were a patron trying to hire Cambridge Analytica, some billionaire dude. And they put them all on camera. It's all recorded. The guys are basically like, it's basically like a private intelligence firm, almost like a Blackwater, where you can hire mercenaries to set up honeypots with prostitutes, take down politicians, spy on them. They set up shell companies with the MI6, Mossad. It's all just untraceable shit. They just ghost out. They said they can ghost in and out of countries. They literally said that they staged the entire Kenyan election. They were like, we staged the whole thing. We wrote all the speeches. Yeah.
Cambridge Analytica did?
This is backed by billionaire Robert Mercer, the same guy
where
who's
can you see
behind
this?
Channel 4 did a crazy investigation about it. And so that's why I'm just like, why is everyone focusing on Facebook data? This is like a crazy,
your
private
farmland,
CIA.
That stupid game that people play. What is it? It's called Farmland?
Farmville or something?
Farm World, Farm Fuck?
Yeah.
What is that shit?
Farmville.
Yeah, that was the thing. Farmville, yeah. That's what people are talking about. Oh, you're getting my data?
Getting my data about the cows I buy? You're
No,
like,
they're
dude,
changing the government of the
literally,
world.
They're killing people. And like the Bannonites and the Breitbart people are... How many other companies are there like this? I always think, while we're all focused on Russian trolls, 14 Russian trolls in St. Petersburg, how many companies like Cambridge Analytica, like Blackwater, like all these things are operating around the world doing all this?
Got to be a fuckload.
A lot.
There's got to be a lot that we don't know of. Because it's only when something fucks up or someone gets shot in the head and like, who is he working for?
Yeah, they're like, what's that company?
What is that?
Change the Kenyan elections? Cool.
Like incel. We never heard of incel. And all of a sudden people are talking about it. It's like, there's got to be so many of those things that are just bubbling up in the distance.
Disturbing, man. Disturbing. Well, you said, how do I deal? You got to do art and you got to go on hikes and go explore nature. Yeah.
But do you ever want to like not concentrate? Do you ever feel like it's not going to do any good? Like this is my question that I give to everybody who's like an activist who's very adamant about change and doing something. Do you ever feel like you just don't want to participate anymore? You just want to just
Someone asked me the other day, they said, you have to admit that you wouldn't rather live anywhere in the world other than here. And I said, I would, because I can't have a kid here because I don't have maternity leave and I don't have any help. I was like, so no, I stay here because I have to and I have to fight. It's not about me and it's not about myself. It's about the greater good. And it's about putting this information out there because especially in the Trump era, I feel like no one is really criticizing him in the correct way and putting it in the proper context of the U.S. empire. And I feel like I need to do that. And I don't get sick of it. And I don't think that, even if you do get burnt out and you get tired, you just have to keep going, because you don't do it for recognition. You don't do it to be on a magazine cover, because you're never going to be rewarded in the system that we live in. That we're going to always live on the margins, and we're going to always fight on the margins. And that's just the way it is. And
do
we
you
have
hope
to,
that somebody's listening so that it alters their perception, and then somehow or another it spreads?
Yeah, I think history is instructive, and I think that's why I do what I do. I want to instruct people about how history has shaped our reality today and how we can use it to learn and prevent similar atrocities from continuing. I mean, I just hope that we can evolve to the point where we can do that.
You essentially work for yourself now, right?
I work for Telesur. Telesur is a also state media, 6 Latin American countries, including Venezuela, including Cuba, Ecuador, and some other countries fund Telesur. But because of the sanctions that Trump has put on Venezuela, it's on a tedious leg. So it sucks that the only other place that you can go is really just begging for donations on Patreon.
But is the Empire Files is it through Telesur?
I have a production company, and I produce the show, and then I sell it to them.
But you say begging for donations. I really don't see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just give people the option, I bet people would be more than willing to support your work if they're interested in your work.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like there's so many people out there that would be now. And it'd be a great way to be completely independent and not beholden to any state-run group or anything else. You'd just basically be putting out content. If people didn't like it anymore, they wouldn't pay for it anymore.
Yeah, no, I think that, well, I'm not beholden to anyone because I don't really have anyone telling me what to do. Like in Venezuela, I was interviewing the defense minister. No one vetted my questions. I was confronting him about all this crazy shit. I mean, no one in corporate media would be allowed to do that with our government. But yeah, to your point, I think that we've just gotten to a place with journalism and media where that's the way it is. Like you have to invest in the journalists that you want to support. And that's just the way that the world works, because media is not a sustainable business if you want it to be holding power to account.
But it seems like that's not the worst thing in the world to have something like Patreon or some similar type of situation where people can just donate.
And I have that on Media Roots and on my podcast, Media Roots Radio. I do have a Patreon there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, to do investigative journalism, it's hard. And to do documentaries, it takes a lot of money and time. And I think that's probably where it'll end up if we keep going down the road that we are, which is, whether it be RT or Telesur, this fear campaign against state media and against the Russian propaganda.
Yeah.
And it's tough. So we'll just keep trying to speak that truth.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're out there swinging. It's a scary job, and
punching up.
You go to crazy places too. I mean, you're not swinging from the comfort of your own home. You're out there in the war zones.
It was scary when I confronted soldiers in Colombia, because I realized that I could probably die either by or a mine. Like, because there's mines all over that fucking place. And they were just like, you need to leave right now if you want to live, basically. And I was like, okay, well, see you later. See you later, guys.
That's why I asked,
nuts.
If ever this seems like, how long do you see yourself doing this until you're an old lady?
I think that if I have a family, I might put, obviously
government's going to knock you up. The government's going to hook your boyfriend up with
Cambridge
some super
Analytica,
sperm.
some fucking honeypot.
They're going to give him a cup of coffee from a strange man. What's in this? Shut the fuck up and drink it if you want a family.
Get in the hole. No, I think that if I have a family, things might change where I might, not just put my life on the line so often.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
But I mean, someone's got to keep poking holes in this bullshit, because it just keeps happening and we keep getting duped, and someone has to be out there countering the narrative and telling these stories from marginalized and oppressed people who have not been given those platforms, and I have to keep doing that part.
Well, I would suggest you stay offline for a couple weeks after this one, just to avoid the shit storm. And it's always great seeing you.
Thanks
Abby.
so much, everyone. Check out
on.
abbymartin.org and the Empire Files and Media Roots. Thank you so much, Joe. You are amazing. Everyone check out Joe's stand-up.
And Abby Martin on Twitter and Instagram is
Fab Abs. I like that you remember.
I remember that.
Got all fabulous, right. Abulous. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.